So it's day 3 of Lightlark, and we changed our outfits. We're still talking about Lightlark.
Yeah.
We've been talking about Lightlark for 5 hours now.
Yeah, we started getting ripe around the 5-hour mark, so we had to cut it, let day turn to night, rest up, and
change.
Yeah.
And we left off with Azul failing spectacularly.
Yeah.
And letting people die. And Pyrrhic had a thought of if the starlings are all telekinetic, why didn't a starling jump in and like move the rocks telekinetically?
I mean, with the way that the tailor could zip all that stuff around in seconds to make a dress, and the fact that they could use energy from stars to forge a sword, you would think that the starlings would be able to stop the collapse, just freeze it, let everybody go, and then...
How come the starlings for the ball, instead of just smearing their stardust everywhere, like monkeys smearing poop on the walls, why didn't they have starlings like floating glitter around? That would have been so much more cool if you were walking through glitter all the time.
Can starlings telekinetically manipulate their own bodies so that they can fly?
Never explained. I'm presuming not, because none of the starlings fly. Only Oro flies.
Interesting.
So yeah, Azul ends up letting a bunch of people die. Bloodstained rocks. And then the island's falling apart because Oro is dying.
Yeah, and it says he's got his fingers in the marble. What does that mean?
Oro?
Yeah.
Has his fingers? Because he, like, reached into the marble so hard with so much effort that he fractured the marble and his fingers are, like, digging into it.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Is that because he's in pain, or is he trying to stop what's happening?
I'm guessing he's in pain and trying to stop what's happening. It's a very effortful task.
He just digs into it.
Yeah, you just like, it's like, you know, when you concentrate so hard and you're holding an egg, the egg just cracks in your hand. Yeah, after the ball and after all those people died and Oro, you know, dicking around on the floor, basically all the people abandoned the mainland, and it said the mainland became a place only for specters and rulers, but I thought that's what was going on in the first place because she never mentions farmland or houses.
Yeah.
She was like, where did the peasants live? And why would you stay on the island if you knew it was falling apart just to watch the games?
Again, it would be very useful to have a map and to understand culturally the significance of the games and the culture of the people who live on the island. Because I'm presuming that that culture is very different from the culture of the people who live...
On the Newlands.
In the Newlands and also in the realms of each different, you know, subgroup of people themselves, right? It would be a lot more, like, I guess less nationalistic and more mercantilism, right? Because they talk about how there's lots of shops and
you would think
like
they would be extremely desperate because they're living in an island that's besieged by storms and they're all like subsistence farmers. They should be.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the store.
There's no import-export, so they barely have contact with the outside world except for once every 100 years.
Yeah.
So like 2 generations pass before they see people from outside of the mainland.
And the island isn't massive because you can walk across it. Well, you can walk to one of the bridges that leads you off the island in 45 minutes from the castle.
Yeah, so it should be like extremely inbred, like that one island. What was that one island called?
Inbred Island, that's what you looked up?
The Pitcairn Islands. Have you heard of the Pitcairn Islands?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so the mainland should be like the friggin' Pitcairn Islands, bro. Like, that's what it should be like. Massive inbreeding. Nobody should have a curse.
No, everybody should have a curse because they're inbred.
No, they
breaking the curse.
They just have cursed genetics.
Oh yeah, a different kind of curse.
Yeah, a different kind of curse. So yeah, everyone leaves the island. Cleo moved to her isle, breaking tradition. Oro pushed the excursion back a few days to find the heart of the island. And he has to deal with the wreckage and keep the nobles from rebelling. And she keeps throwing out stuff like keeping the nobles from rebelling, but it's like, how would the nobles rebel? Yeah,
I mean, I guess with their powers or something, but it's like, what would they do? It's not like they can kill the king.
If they kill the king, they'll die.
Exactly,
so there's no way they can rebel.
Yeah, like what does rebellion entail? Exactly.
So then, Horace, or not Horace, so then Isla asks Oro about the heart, and she says, who created the heart? And he says, it was made during the creation of the island, contains pure concentrated energy from its creator. Who created it? Horus Ray. And Horus Ray is the creator, the primary ancestor of all the Sunlings.
Isn't there a character in Lost in the Dharma Initiative named Horus as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is basically like Lost mixed with Hunger Games.
And Alex Astor, she's 27 now, so she would have been a teenager. I remember When Lost was out, everybody at school was watching it, so she probably watched it as a kid because that's when season 2 of Lost was coming out. When I was like 11 or 12, right? She probably would have been the same age.
And Lost was like really big.
It was a huge phenomenon. So she probably really liked Lost, and she probably was influenced by Lost.
Of course she was. Everyone who's like our age was influenced by Lost.
Yeah.
Even Breaking Bad was influenced by Lost.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Horus Ray created the heart, and then also Cronin Malvair, who's the ancestor of the Nightshades, and we just joke that he sounds like Cronon Malware.
Yeah, Cronin Malware. He's
Cronin
a bad
Malware.
guy.
He's a virus.
Obviously evil.
Cronus the virus.
Yeah, like Cyrus the virus,
Yeah,
John
exactly.
Malkovich.
Basically,
They go visit the Na'vi ripoff.
Oh yeah, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But Oro implies that Grimm should have told her that Cronin Malvair was involved with the heart of the island. And he also, I think this is when he also tells her, no, he tells her later that a wildling was also involved with the creation of the island.
Yeah.
So then they get attacked by these fairy dudes, and the fairy dudes are like, you know, they want to kill the wildling. The king basically asks where the heart of the island is, and they say, we will only tell you if the wildling visits me after this is all over, but like she never goes back, and this never comes up again, so it's totally pointless.
And there's also an implication that the ruler of the fairy guys knows that she doesn't have any abilities.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she just keeps introducing, like, every time they go look for the heart of the island, they run to another mythical creature. So it's the ghost, the fairy dudes, the cannibal dudes, and then the mermaid, but it's like, their origins are never explained. It's never explained where these creatures come from. It's not like, oh yeah, they were once human, but they were cursed, or something like that, you know? Yeah. It wasn't just the curses that on the people that we have to worry about. There were also creatures that were cursed to become ghouls, you know, evil creatures.
Yeah.
I don't know where these guys came from. I don't know why they want to kill them. Every time they show up, it's like a different type of dude, and they have a different thing to say, but they never come back ever again.
No.
And, like, the fact that there's mermaids, the fact that there's these fairy Na'vi dudes, like, it has nothing to do with the story, and it doesn't impact it in any way. So it's just like, we were talking about, like, if you actually focused the story and removed all the useless bits of searching for the heart, removed all the useless bits of searching for the bondbreaker, you would probably remove, like, at least half the story.
Yeah.
And then I'll remove all the stupid demonstrations, because those go nowhere, too.
Yeah, yesterday we talked about how it has to be 80,000 words long to be classified as, like, a novel and not a novella. And 80,000 words, I think, under standardized typeface, typesetting, paper margins, the standard, like, Times New Roman size 12, I believe that comes out to 320 pages. And so the version of the book that I read on the app that I got it on, it was 357 pages. And in yours, it's 414
because
pages.
The font is bigger.
Yeah, and the margins. So I read it on my cell phone. She's reading it on her laptop. I don't know what the print edition of the book is, but when we looked at it, we went to the store and we picked up a physical copy. We were shocked by how big the font was.
Yeah.
And how large the margins were.
It's a grift. It's a grift.
It was like, it looked like a child book.
Yeah.
A baby book.
It looks like a total, I mean, I guess it is YA.
Yeah.
But it looks like baby's first chapter book.
I don't remember the series of unfortunate events looking like that.
No, it was smaller. Yeah. Smaller font.
Yeah.
Same thing with Harry Potter. Anyway, then they go to a cave, but it's not the secret garden cave. It's like a secret Skyling graveyard. And they're looking for the heart of the island again.
Well, the reason they go to the cave is because the fairy guy slits Oro's throat, but not so deep that he would die, but still he loses a ton of blood, and he doesn't heal himself for some stupid reason. And he just continues to intimidate that guy while he's bleeding out. And then he tries to fly away with Isla after that. Then he passes out because he's still, like, gushing blood from his neck. And then he passes out, and she drags him to a stream. And then he heals, like, the water heals him, but then the sun's coming up. So instead of using her star stick to take him back to the castle, which is what I would have done, and which is what I thought she would have done, because it makes sense, and she always has the star stick up against her spine, she drags him into a cave, and then she uses that as an opportunity to play the question game.
Yeah, 20 questions.
Basically 20 questions, where they ask questions to each other. And it's just another one of those things where it's like, based on what you've set up already in the story. I mean, not a lot is set up in the story, but it's again, like, I expected her to use the Star Stake. I mean, when does she actually...
It's the only power that she has.
Yeah.
You would think that she would use it a lot more to, like, get out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because it's the only ability that she has, and it's, like, from her mother, too. So, yeah, I mean, the only information that's crucially revealed here is that he mentions Aurora, who ends up being the big bad, and he says, oh, I've never been in love.
How old's this guy again?
He's like 1,000 years old. But then we find out that his brother was engaged to be married to a woman named Aurora, and he never really loved Aurora because Aurora never took his powers.
Yeah.
So that's the only time that Aurora is mentioned before the end.
Yeah. He
says that my favorite part of Lightlark is where the sea is the color of your eyes.
What part is that?
And the dead, dirty, moldy seaweed part. The part of the sea that has algal bloom. That's my favorite part of the sea.
Rancid.
The part that's completely eutrophied where nothing grows.
Yeah.
The fish come up belly up on that part of the sea.
All the beached whales.
It smells like low tide.
Sea urchins pricking against the rocks.
Exactly. Then she brags about how great she is at singing. Fun fact, Alex Astor also loves singing. Is there a relic on the island that can break any bond? And the king says no, but then she ends up looking for it anyway, even after he says no. And then she admits that she was searching for it.
They talk about how she let him win the duel.
Yeah, and what's your flair? And then he says, share your secret and I'll tell you, referring to the secret in her teacup that she doesn't have any powers, and she says no. And then he says, tell me your secret and you can be the one who wins the tournament. And supposedly, like, again, this is a throwaway line, but supposedly if you win the tournament and you're the one who breaks the curse, I don't know how there can be a winner, by the way. I don't know how only one person can break the curse if all of them break it together.
Right.
But if you're the one who breaks the curse, supposedly you get, like, an unnamed power, power beyond all measure that's described in the prophecy. And then he says, if you tell me your secret, you can brandish the heart and fulfill the prophecy. You can win the great power promised, but only if you tell me your secret. And then Oro reveals that he doesn't want the power, but he would be perfectly happy to give it to Isla, some wildling that he's never met before.
Yeah, but he's never been in love for like thousands of years, right?
Stupid.
So
he's like, oh, you know, I don't really want power, but it's like, don't you care? Like, if you don't want power, don't you care about the type of person who does want that much power?
Exactly.
Like, how greedy they would be?
Yeah.
They fly back, and then he heals, I guess, and then there's like some stupid thing about him not holding her correctly when they're flying. They're going to the Moon Isle to find the heart of the island there, and then they unfreeze one of the oracles. And again, it's just like, what oracles? And it's like, yeah, by the way, there are like 3 oracles on the Moon Isle who froze in a cryogenic state
that we've never heard
of before.
Nobody ever mentioned that.
But
ever.
apparently they can see into the future and they unfreeze one of the oracles, and it's like, wow, it would have been great to know that there were 3 frozen oracles in the beginning of the book.
Or when she goes to the Moon Kingdom earlier.
Or when they mention the prophecy, it's like, oh yeah, that famed oracle who froze to death, famously, you know, she was the one who delivered that prophecy, and ever since she froze to death, you know, we've never had another oracle. No, but it's just so convenient that they seek out an oracle who was frozen and like unthaws, but then freezes right back up. like the king just puts his hand on her and she thaws, and then she just freezes right back up, and he's like, we're not going to be able to get to her again. But it's like, why were you able to get to her in the beginning?
No, but
in the first place.
Like, why not take her, like, why not work with Cleo? Like, if she was really there the entire time, and it's, like, they have hundreds of years, like, 100 years between each of these centennials, right? And Cleo's like, look, let's talk to this oracle and find out.
She wasn't there the entire time, because she left and went back to her new land between centennials.
Okay, and then when did she freeze?
But I'm just saying, why don't the rulers just stay on the island?
Yeah.
But if the key to solving the prophecy is on the island, why wouldn't they just stay on the island when they go there for the first centennial? Just stay there for 500 years and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, you don't have to, like, between the centennials, it's not like the rulers themselves are frozen.
No.
Right? They're able to do whatever they want for 100 years.
Yeah, and they just go back and forget about the curse and just go about their own business. But dude, put a Denethor in charge of each of the realms, and then just spend your time on the island for 500 years between the centennials. Just stay on the island for 500 years and figure out what's going on. Like, you owe that much to your people. If you're the only ones who are, like, immortal...
Yeah.
Well, actually, we established that they're not the only ones who live long lives.
No.
But if you guys live long lives, just stay on the island and figure out what's going on.
Exactly.
And you don't have to kill each other either. Just try to figure out what's going on.
It's acting like the only time they have the ability to find out what's going on is every 100 years. But that's because that's when the storm stops. But it's like, you don't have to leave the island when the storm starts again.
It's not like the island, like, shows, like, comes out of the ocean and then goes back.
No.
You know? And the king's there 24/7. He can't leave. So why not just make the other rulers stay there 24/7 in the castle and figure out what's going on?
Yeah.
That makes the most sense to me. Why is there a competition and why do they leave?
Yeah.
Why would you ever leave if that's the only place you can figure out your curse?
None of their curses are keeping them from staying on the island.
No.
Right?
There's nothing keeping them from staying on the island.
Like, if you had, like, a moonling person who was staying on the island, all you'd have to do is keep her in a spot that's away from the ocean. And she would be fine.
Yeah. And the castle is not next to the ocean, except for, like, the outer wall.
Yeah, the wing.
Just put her in the cellar.
Exactly.
It's not hard.
And it's the same thing, you know, the Nightshade, there's nothing about their curse that says that they can't be on the island. Same thing with Skyling. Same thing with, obviously, Sunling, he's there. Starling is the only thing where you'd have to just have the Starling rulers come every 25 years to be there. Or, like, have a kid on the island, and then that kid is the next ruler.
Dude, the Starling just has to have a kid with somebody who's not a Starling.
Yeah.
And their kid would be the Starling ruler, and also not have the Starling ruler curse.
Exactly.
That's what happens in the end.
Yeah.
That's what happens to Isla.
Yeah.
So, like...
again, that rule wasn't there from the beginning, because if it was, that would be the most common sense.
No, it was Alex Astor going like, oh, how do I get Isla out of this? How? Oh, I know. And it's like, okay, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then the Oracle, after they thaw her out... Okay, no, when they thawed her out, the king should have been like, okay, get out of there. And then brought her back to the castle.
I know, right?
How useful is an Oracle?
Super useful. That's what I'm saying. Why not make a deal with Cleo and say, hey, let us take this Oracle out of your place and unthaw her?
But it's not Cleo's fault that she's frozen.
No, but I'm saying, like, the fact that she's there and the Moon Kingdom's, like, super cold, you know?
Yeah.
Then you can take her out and she'll never refreeze.
No, she's not frozen because she's in the Moon Kingdom. So he says, a king far before me trapped them in ice so they would never leave or die.
Oh, yeah.
3 women born with the gift of prophecy, enraged at being in prison, 2 of them joined forces with Nightshade, calling to the dark part of the island. When the Night Isle was destroyed, they froze forever. But why did the 3rd one freeze when she didn't do anything wrong? There's 3 women in the ice.
Yeah.
3 women were trapped in the ice, but he says 2 of them joined with Nightshade.
Yeah, and so the 3rd...
So why did the 3rd one get trapped in the ice?
Is the 3rd woman the one he unthaws?
The middle woman's eyes flew open.
I guess she's the one who didn't side with Nightshade, right? But if they're not dead and they're just frozen and Nightshades can read minds, how come he couldn't bring Grimm there?
Well, the Oracle says it's been a long time since I saw a Sunling and a Wildling side by side. I've been warned not to help you, but this is just too curious. Who warned her not to help them? If she's the good one, why not just pull her out and then, like, fly her back to your castle?
Yeah, he says warned by who, and then they say Cleo. How was Cleo talking to a frozen person?
No, it's not Cleo.
Yeah, I know, but why would they say Cleo? It had to be Cleo.
That was Isla being stupid.
Yeah, but why would Isla think that? That's my point.
The only person I could think of was Aurora. But how did Aurora freeze her and then thaw her and then put her back in? Like, if anyone could just come by and, like, take her out, and then the king's like, she won't be waking up again soon. It's like, bro, somebody clearly woke her up before you to tell you not to help them. Or to tell her not to help you.
But how did the person who warned them know that these 2 would come to her asking for help? To give the warning. It's like, you know, in Back to the Future 2.
He said someday a crazy, wild-eyed scientist or a kid may show up asking about that book. And if that ever happens... It's funny. I never thought it would be you.
Funny, I never thought it'd be you. Like, Biff warns his past self, right? It's like, who gave this warning? Because this Oracle character didn't even exist in the first 2/3 of the book.
This Oracle character didn't even exist 2 pages ago.
No, so it's like, who did that? Who warned you? How long ago was that warning?
If the Oracle was being used by Aurora, then how come Aurora can't foresee what's going to happen later? And how come when they go to the spot where the Oracles are frozen, they're not all taken?
Yeah, because presumably the warning came before the Nightshade Isle fell, right? Before they were frozen.
I don't think so, because she says... I've been warned not to help you. But the only person I can think of who would warn them not to help them is Aurora.
Yeah, but
then if Aurora thawed them out and then they froze again, how come the king's like, she's not gonna wake up anytime soon. When it's like someone clearly, dude, she just told you, someone warned her not to help you. How would that person know what you were looking for?
Right.
Unless they knew you were looking for it, aka in the last week or so.
Yeah.
Why don't you, and they must have thawed them out too, so why don't you just try to thaw them out again and be like, hey, wait a minute, who warned you?
No, the better question would be like, when did they warn you? Because she could answer that question, right? Because she says that I cannot say about who, but what about when? When did they warn you? She'd be like, oh, it was like...
No, even if she can't say it, take her out, fly her back to the castle, put her in the dungeon, torture her.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Or get Grimm to read her mind.
Yeah, get Grimm to read her mind.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
No.
This is so dumb.
Especially if they unthawed the one that had an allegiance to Nightshade, he could be like, as the ruler of Nightshade, I command you to tell me.
The biggest thing is that it's like the time turner that keeps happening in this comic.
Yeah.
Or not this comic, this story, where she keeps introducing game-breaking logic and game-breaking mechanics, and then she's like, oh, but if I keep that in the story, then it's like, why is this a problem then?
Yeah.
Because if you keep oracles in the story who can tell the future, then like, why would the characters not just ask them every single question?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so then they thaw them and then they freeze again.
Yeah.
And they won't come out again.
Am I glad he's frozen in there and that we're out here and that he's the sheriff and that we're frozen out here and that we're in there and I just remembered we're out here. What I want to know is where's the caveman?
But it's like, he didn't even try.
Again, it's like a kid making stuff up. Like, okay, so my character has a sword. Okay, so my character clanks the sword out of your character's hands. But then my character catches the sword with their other hand, so... And then
no, my character has the force, and then the sword magnetically gets pulled into their hand.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, well then this character blindfolds your character so they can't see what's going on. Oh, but my character also has mind-reading powers, so they can read your mind before you put the blindfold on, and they know that you're gonna put the blind... And it's like, stop making it up! You're just making it up at this point. Like, it's like a kid cheating at a game. That's what it's like.
That's what it's like. They ask where the heart of Lightlark is, and the Oracle says it is near and nearer than you know. It's on Moon Isle, and the Oracle nods. And then they ask where, and then she says that I cannot divulge. It's like, dude, like, who's telling you what you can and can't say?
Yeah.
It's just so arbitrary. I can tell you it's near. Is it on Moon Isle? That I cannot say. According to whom?
Yeah, why not?
That is the only way to successfully wield the heart, is if you both find it on your own. That's just made up.
It is.
Made up. You have many questions. There's so many things I could tell you, though I should not. All will be revealed soon enough. Know this, there are lies and liars all around you, Isla Crown. That is very true. Everyone's lying to her.
The Oracle's friggin' lying.
Everyone's lying to her. Before the words could leave her lips, the Oracle smiled and the water hardened into ice. Isla banged on it with her knuckles and immediately spotted with blood. Still, she kept pounding over and over, her hand raw and throbbing, and Oro just watched her do it. Before he said, finally, she's gone. She'll not awaken again anytime soon. Why don't you try with your fire, dude?
No.
Yeah, then they go, and I think that the Oracle is the one who says it's where the darkness meets the light.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Oh no, Oro was the one who said it's where the darkness meets the light. And that's where they would find the heart of the island. So the Oracle doesn't tell them anything.
No.
The Oracle tells them nothing.
But then did they say how Oro knew that?
I think he just says it's because a Nightshade...
No, you can't search that way. You have to search with
I think it's because he says a Nightshade and a Sunling made the island together. Yeah. So he says, oh, it must be where the darkness meets the light.
But why did it take him this long to figure that out?
Because it's stupid. So, oh no, the Winged Man. The fairy tells him it always seems to choose a place where darkness meets light. And then, so first they just look at all the places where there are plants, because he's like, it seems to be usually where there's like a flower or something. And then they go to all the places where there's like secret gardens.
Yeah, she calls them purse plants, where they like open up
and
like
coffin plants.
Yeah, and then you look inside and you're like, it's not in here.
Yeah, so first they look at all the plants to see if the heart's in one of the plants. Yeah. Because Oro thinks it must be because, because a wildling created the island, it must be in one of the plants.
Yeah. Or
it's in a natural, it appears in like a natural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And then they talk to the ghost who says it's not on Star Isle, and then they talk to the fairy guy who says it's where it's darkness meets light.
Yeah.
And then they talk to the Oracle who basically doesn't say anything except it's nearer than you think.
And I can't tell you.
Yeah, and then she like friggin' triggers Isla by saying like, oh, I know everything and you know nothing. And then she's like, tell me, and then she goes, heh, and then freezes.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the Oracle.
How did she freeze though? Because Oro stopped thawing her?
No, she just like smiled and then froze.
So she controls the freezing herself?
I don't know. It just, the whole thing with the Oracle is pointless. She doesn't tell them anything.
It's just padding.
It's padding, and then she says there's lies and liars all around you.
Well, we already knew that.
Yeah, I know. And then the oracle just says it's nearer than you know. And then she also says, I've been told not to tell you this. And then it's like, but who? Who told you that? And then she doesn't reveal it.
Yeah.
So then they keep looking. Oh, in the next chapter, Isla uses her star stick to look at Wildling and then finds out that Tara's dying and turning into a tree.
So I've got a quick question.
This is when the chapters start becoming really short.
Yeah, so Grimm gave her that necklace that's invisible, and he says if you use that necklace, just
touch the diamond.
Yeah, and I'll appear.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll come and help you. I mean, why not use him to talk to the oracles or help the search?
I don't know why the king only trusts Isla. It's kind of dumb.
I mean,
it's
she hasn't really proven
that she's useful.
No.
He just assumes that because she has power, she'll be able to help him locate it more easily because she's the only wildling.
Yeah, but, I mean, that hasn't really worked out so far. I mean, they've been searching for it for how many days now?
That's why the second she tells him her secret, he tells everyone. Because he's
Yeah.
like, this is stupid, I'm just going to get everyone to help me look for it.
Yeah.
Because every single ruler on that island has an incentive to help them.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not just use the rulers?
He should have known by now.
He should have just told them from the beginning.
Yeah.
Hey guys, instead of a stupid competition, let's all look for the heart of the island together.
Yeah, because the assassination thing was like...
It doesn't make any sense. There's no incentive to assassinate each other.
Not only that, but it was like weighing over her head for the first like half of the book, and now it doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Cleo effed off to her realm anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's like, well, I mean, the whole thing about, oh, Cleo's gonna kill me after the ball. No, Cleo just left. You know, after she saw Azul kill those people, she's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, after the earthquake happened, she's like, I'm not sticking around here. This is a death sentence.
You guys are all losers.
Yeah.
I gotta get out of here.
Stupid.
So, I mean, like, that whole point about assassination doesn't even matter.
No.
So...
The wildling country was just a castle. There's nothing described about it except that there was a castle.
Well, they said the castle was more outside than in, and then they said that the hallways were like bridges.
Yeah, but it's not like Rivendell where all the buildings were clustered around the castle. It was just like, it was just a castle in a jungle. That's all I got from it.
What I thought of was the Woodland Realm castle from Lord of the Rings, Galadriel's castle.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah.
So... It just like a skyscraper.
Yeah, but Galadriel's castle had a bunch of buildings connected to it, like in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
This is just dumb. It's just like one castle and like nothing around it.
The forest had been raised by who?
In the next chapter, she uses a star stick. She sees Tara dying. She sees the forest like rotting.
Yeah. And
then the Wildling Palace destroyed, which is just like, you know, how did that happen? And who's responsible for that? And it's just is it just coincidence that it was also when the island started crumbling?
Well, because the power and the health of the ruler is tied to the realm, and in the beginning of the story, they say because she has no powers, the Wildling realm is dying at an expedited rate. But, I mean...
But she does have powers.
Yeah. So, it's like, they said that...
Yeah, I don't know why the Wildling realm is crumbling.
They said that it was Isla's fault that it was crumbling. Like, she knew that it was her fault because she had no powers. That's what they say in the beginning.
But she does have powers.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know why now that it's... Because it has nothing to do with Oro's powers.
No.
It has nothing to do...
But it happened right after the ballroom started collapsing.
Yeah, and I don't know what the triggering mechanism is for that.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's just so that at the end of this chapter, when she sees her realm in ruins, she goes to the king and she says... If I tell you my secret, can I still win the tournament and get the ultimate power? And then he says, sure. And then she says, okay, my secret is that I have no powers.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay, well, you win then. And then she goes, oh, awesome. And then she's like, yeah, it's awesome. And then in the next chapter, he immediately tells everyone. Yeah. She's like, yeah, it's great. I told him my powers and I'm still alive. And then in the next chapter, freaking Oro gathers all the rulers and tells them that he wants to change partners because Isla has no power.
She sucks! I chose the wrong partner.
So he says, Isla and I have scoured the island for a relic we believe might have been used 500 years ago. We think wielding it was the original offense and that its power created the curses. Yeah, so they're looking for the heart of the island because they think that somebody used the heart of the island to spin the curses and that if they use it again, that will complete that part of the prophecy where you have to commit the original offense. And then he says, I want to change partners because she's useless and she has no powers. He wants to be matched to Cleo. I don't think he rematches Isla with anyone. He just says, I want to be partnered with Cleo.
Yeah.
And then Isla doesn't get assigned to anyone.
And so then Grimm spirits her away.
Yeah. And his flare is teleportation.
Yeah.
And then he's like, our powers include curses, so I knew that you had no curse.
Of course.
Which is so dumb.
There's no mention of that either.
I don't know what powers, like spinning curse power, like does that mean he can curse anyone he wants to? How come he never uses that power in story?
I don't know, but, you know, he keeps calling her Heart Eater. And if he knows that she has no curse and no power, why does he keep calling her that?
Because she ate his heart. Like a big old chocolate... big old chocolate, truffle.
A chili chocolate praline?
No, it's like a chocolate that's infested with maggots. That's Grimm's heart.
Maggot
Extremely 99% dark cacao infested with maggots.
Ugh.
And then she says, why are you always helping me? And then he says, because we're monsters, Heart Eater. Or at least that's what they think. And monsters stick together.
That's such a Tumblr type thing to say, man.
But then she feels upset because she was betrayed by Oro. And she's like, she only believes Grimm now.
Yeah.
So, this chapter is also really short.
I like how she says the weeks that had been spent helping Oro were wasted, because it's totally true.
Yeah, it was a waste of our time, too.
A big waste of time.
Big waste of time. So then she goes back to Celeste, and Celeste's like, I'm still looking for the bond breaker, even though we looked in all the libraries and it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And then Isla's like, okay, I'll help you too. So it's just like we flipped from the Heart of the Island plot, now back to the bond breaker plot. So it's just like, it's just too much. Like, we just keep flip-flopping between those two plots.
Yeah.
And neither one of them, like, really matters.
No.
Because both of them just waste our time. Like, breaking into the libraries don't further the plot, really, or add anything to the main story or themes. And then looking for the Heart of the Island doesn't really add anything to the main story, except that the king finds out her secret.
Yeah.
But it's like, you could have accomplished that if they were both looking for the heart.
Yeah. And Celeste says the Wilding Realm is useful, and you guys can grow stuff, and you're more important than you know. And it's like, finally, somebody's speaking sense here.
Somebody says it. That,
yeah.
Why would you kill Isla when, like, if you kill Isla, you kill the entire, like, resource-producing...
The bread basket.
Yeah, the bread basket. You're killing off the bread basket. Celeste is like, we need to keep working together to find the bond breaker.
Yeah.
Then she's like, I've got an idea. You know who would help us? Juniper. So then
Oh my God.
she decides to write a letter to Juniper that said, details of my greatest secret in exchange for yours. And she's like, the one person on the whole island who would know where the bond breaker is.
What is...
That's Juniper.
Is Juniper a skyling, starling, moonling, sunling?
I don't even know if Juniper's human. I got the sense that he was like a Tom Bombadil dude. Like, why is he so powerful? Why does he know everything?
But what kind of person is he? Is he a nightshade? Is he a wild?
They don't tell you. They don't tell you. But they also don't tell you, like, what his deal is. Because the only way he would know where the bond breaker is if somebody else told him.
The only way he would know
and
where
nobody knows where the bond breaker is.
The only way he'd know where the bond breaker is if he hid the bond breaker somewhere himself.
Exactly!
He'd be like,
that's what I'm saying. It's implied that Juniper is like an omniscient god.
The bond breaker's right here in my pants.
Yeah.
Isla.
Oh my God.
Oh, get away! You know?
No, like, why does Juniper know so much?
I don't know.
He's like Tom Bombadil. Like, why does he know so much?
He's not really like Tom Bombadil, though.
No, but he's like a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, but the secrets that he gives are like no duh secrets.
Yeah, I know. But like it's highly implied that he does know where the bond breaker is. Or that he knows she says Juniper knows who spun the curses.
When did she say that? I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
No,
That's why he gets killed. That's why he gets killed.
How long has Juniper been on the island?
That's
for?
what I'm saying. Is he like immortal, ancient? I was there when the curses were made.
Does
like
Oro know?
That's what I'm saying.
Does Oro know what Juniper knows?
Exactly.
Does he know that?
How does Juniper know more than Oro?
Dude, I'm sure Oro has so many secrets because he's lived for such a long time. All of Isla's secrets have to do with what she's been up to on the island.
Exactly.
But
in the last 2 weeks.
Oro could have told him his secret that he's dying, and I'm sure Juniper would have given him the juicy story about anything he wanted with that secret. Stupid Juniper.
Yeah.
Grimm gets her chocolate again.
Yeah, Grimm gets her chocolate again, and then she has, like, a dirty dream about him. And then, she's like, did you send me that dream? And then he, like, smirks and says no. Then she goes to the Palace of Mirrors, and then she finds a letter from Juniper that says, I know who cast the curses. How does he know?
And why is he bringing this up now?
Why didn't he tell the king immediately?
Yeah, why didn't he tell the king like 500 years ago?
Why would you sit on that information? I know where Osama bin Laden is, but it's not even Osama bin Laden because like this, like presumably he's cursed too.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to like remove the curse as Juniper?
No, she never specifies what realm he's from. It's like knowing
Juniper was the one who cast the curses. That would make more sense than Celeste.
That would be such a great plot
That would have
twist.
made more sense.
That would have been.
That would have made way more sense. Like he faked his death.
Yeah.
Because why does he know so much? How does he know who cast the curses?
He's so full of crap. I know who cast the curse. Shut up, Juniper.
He would have just made it up.
You
He
freak.
would have just said it was Grimm.
Yeah.
It's like everyone thinks that. Thanks for telling me nothing.
Stupid head.
So then she goes to Juniper's bar, and then there's a message scrawled in blood, and it's a response to when she got attacked by assassins, and then she sent them a message that said try harder, and then the person killed Juniper, and then they wrote in his blood hard enough, like hard enough ? And then Juniper is dead because he knew who cast the curses.
That was so fast.
I know.
Such a fast turnaround. Who intercepted the message?
It was Cleo, because Cleo was there with her.
How was the message sent?
It was just in the place of mirrors.
Okay.
It was probably a paper airplane.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Skyling.
Skyling paper airplane. So is Juniper a
Yeah.
Skyling then? I mean,
I don't know. They never tell you.
How does he know?
How does he know
write?
How does he know who cast the curses?
I don't know.
And why did you just sit on that information?
Yeah.
You should have been like, "Hey, King, give me all the gold in your treasury."
Did Cleo ask him before she killed him who cast the curses?
Cleo didn't kill him.
I know, but I'm saying, like, if she did, right? Because that's the implication, right?
But she didn't.
Yeah, I know, but it's like, you'd have to wonder, why would somebody do that?
Why would someone kill him?
Yeah, why would it be staged to look like it was Cleo? If it's like...
It wasn't staged to look like it was Cleo.
Yeah, I know, but the hard enough is like staging to make it look like it's a moonling.
No. Because the only reason she thinks it was a moonling is because she thinks the guys who tried to kill her earlier were Cleo's assassins.
Exactly.
But they weren't. They were
No.
wildlings.
Because they chain her up in water chains. Like moonlings.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, so the whole thing looks like moonlings.
So Cleo did try to assassinate her then?
Yeah.
Why did Cleo try to assassinate her?
Because she was in her library. Unless, like, I don't know if they revealed that it was Celeste.
No.
Cleo
Cleo tried to assassinate her because they were using water chains. You're right.
Yeah.
And I think Oro was talking about those cannibals who show up for like one paragraph and then F off.
Yeah.
Those are the wildlings who were trying to kill her.
Yeah, those are the wild
Okay,
ones.
so then Cleo sends the assassins after her for going into her library, and then Cleo also trapped her in the library to kill her. But then the king's like, if she really wanted to kill you, she would have tried harder. It's like, dude, she literally sent assassins after her.
Exactly.
What was the point of that?
But unless it was revealed, I don't think it was revealed that the assassins were actually paid off by Celeste.
Or, yeah.
And then Celeste ends up killing them anyway. They're like, well, we had a deal! And then she kills them, right?
So they were Cleo's men.
Yeah, because they never revealed that they were paid off by Celeste. And it's, like, that's what I'm saying. It looks like it's staged to look like Cleo killed Juniper because of that language. And it's like, as Isla, you'd be like, why is she building an army? And why would she kill Juniper? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Because the only conclusion would be that Cleo was the one who spun the curses and she didn't want anyone to find out.
But why would she spin a curse of her own people drowning on a full moon?
Yeah, that's when she says, like, of all the realms, Moonling suffered the least. And it's like, no, dude.
No,
Skyling suffered the least.
Seriously.
Skyling and Nightshade suffered the least. And Nightshade is extremely powerful and they can spin curses.
Obviously, Nightshade is
they're the ones, like, all the evidence points to Nightshade.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to friggin', and if it's not Nightshade, then Skyling.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, paper airplanes, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, the Moonling case is like paper thin, flimsy.
It's extremely flimsy.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's
it's only because she hates Cleo, because Cleo's better, like, good looking, and Cleo's like the alpha.
Yeah.
That's why. But anyway,
yeah, she had intercepted Isla's note or found out about it somehow. Like, how?
It wasn't her, it was obviously Celeste.
Obviously, but like the logic, at this point, I was like, this is stupid. Like, there's no logic and reason here. The only reason you're saying that Cleo had intercepted it somehow...
Cleo.
Yeah, it's because you hate Cleo, and the author wants you to think. Like, I never thought Cleo was the villain. It was so obvious.
It was too obvious.
She failed Juniper.
The writing. And she failed Juniper. Cleo had killed the barkeep because of her. Because of the knowledge that he had been about to share. which meant that his clue had to be important. These are all separate sentences.
Yeah,
it's
like,
so obnoxious.
Yeah.
There's not a single paragraph, it's just like one sentence, and then another sentence. So here, every day she went farther, risking venturing deep into the wicked forest, to the cliff, to the outskirts of the castle, even. At least it made her feel something. She felt useless, doing nothing to win.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, they're all, like, separate lines.
She keeps listing stuff. It's strange. Like,
It's
to
really...
the cliff, to the outskirts of the castle, where she says she was cold, freezing, barely holding on. And it's like, why are you listing stuff?
The island was a pastry, crumbling into the sea day by day, but at dusk, it was pretty. The sun was a running yolk, smearing golden, orange, and red across the sky, as if desperate to leave its mark.
Another thing
the clouds
she does,
were cotton dipped in pink dye.
No, another thing she does a lot is she calls, like, these different objects in the story things.
Yeah.
The island was a cliffy thing. The sun was a yolky thing. Isla was a pretty thing. This was a jagged thing. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, stop calling
It's like Buffy
things.
speak. It's like Buffy speak.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
She was wearing clothes the tailor had made her during her first week on the island. Clothes meant for running and fighting. The fabric was thin, but offered protection against the elements. Isla had planned to wear the same outfit to find the heart. Together. It's so staccato. It's so, like, choppy. There's so many M dashes.
Yeah.
Single words as a single line. It's obnoxious. Anyway, yeah, now she's sulking.
Yeah.
Isla was about to turn back into the mainland forest when she saw her. Cleo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's on the wildling mirror palace.
Yeah.
And she follows Cleo when she catches her in the forest. Perhaps she would lead her right to the heart.
Yeah.
And then she follows Cleo, and then Cleo imprisons her.
Ganon is once again imprisoned. Come.
And almost kills her by basically...
By trapping her.
By trapping her in ice. Yeah, I think she just trapped her in ice, so she freezes to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the snow and ice had frozen everything. That looked beautiful, but it felt like a bite. Mosquitoes all over her body.
Mosquitoes?
Yeah, mosquitoes
don't hurt. No, it would be like sharp needles.
Yeah.
Needles that were extremely cold but also burned. You know, it'd be like nerve damage.
Exactly.
It would feel like icy hot.
Yeah.
You know, and Alex Astor loves an anachronistic reference. Icy hot all over her body.
Icy hot all over her body. When you turn the shower on too hot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the shower, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. Then she tries to get the star stick, but she can't reach it because everything except for her head is frozen. No, she tries to get to her necklace.
Yeah.
And she's like, even if I could reach my necklace,
Grim can't be
out at night.
Yeah.
But he can teleport.
Yeah.
But he can't teleport, I guess, to a place he hasn't been to before.
Well, they don't specify, so we don't know.
Because at some point, they're like, Grim has such a dangerous power, he can teleport an entire army here. But it's like, if Grim can't teleport to a place he hasn't been to before, then it's not really that threatening.
Yeah, and if he can teleport other people to places, like, it's like he's teleported Isla to places that she's never been to before. Mm-hmm. Like, when he teleports her earlier in the story. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, and had he ever plunged off the balcony before? So did he know exactly what was underneath?
I don't know. He said he used to live in that castle, right? Because he's so old.
Yeah, I guess.
At one point. But then that also begs the question, if he's so old, has he been to this location before? Before the island was ruined, right?
I don't know. Not explained. So then, instead of Grim saving her, it's really weird, because instead of, like, I don't think even Oro saves her, the friggin' cannibals save her.
Yeah.
But how did the cannibals get to this area?
No explanation.
She goes into the forest. It's like in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of Oro saving her, some cannibals save her.
Yeah.
And they carried her through the forest. Like, her eyes are closed the entire time.
Yeah.
And, like, so this part is totally pointless. I don't know why cannibals saved her.
It's like the cannibal detour in Pirates of the Caribbean 2.
No, not even, because it's only like 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
And her eyes aren't even open, so we don't even get the description of the cannibals.
No, you just hear sounds. And then
you just hear sounds, and they're like, I'm gonna eat her heart first. And then, you know, before she landed on the ground, someone else's arms were around her, and then she was in the air.
Yeah.
And then immediately she just flown away from there. And then Oro's like, by the way, those cannibals were former wildlings. That's what happened to all the men. The wildling men, they turned into cannibals. You know, it's like Deliverance. All the wildling men became like the cannibals in Deliverance.
Why?
I don't know.
He got a little pretty mouth, ain't he?
That's the truth.
So then she's in Oro's room, and it's like for some reason she feels awkward around that. He said if I had to sacrifice a single realm, it would be Starling. And Cleo has become increasingly convinced that Starling must be the one to die. And then she tells Oro that Cleo wanted to kill her, and he's like, if she wanted to kill you, she would have killed you.
Yeah.
And then Isla's like, that doesn't make any sense because she pretty much did kill me. I mean, I agree with Isla. Like, if she didn't want to kill her, why did she trap her there and leave her for dead?
Yeah.
Where cannibals could have gotten to her.
Yeah, she didn't know that the cannibals would have saved her.
I know, it's stupid.
She knows that Isla has no powers at this
I know,
point,
exactly.
so...
And if Isla dies, then her entire realm dies, which is kind of dumb for Cleo, because it's like, what do moonlings eat?
Exactly.
Like, you guys can't grow anything on your land, so why would you kill the wildlings off?
Yeah.
No more chocolate, frickin' Cleo.
Yeah.
You're willing to give up chocolate for Isla?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so then Oro knows about the Secret Legion, and he goes, she's planning something. But again, it's been 100 years between the Centennials, and it's like you didn't have any spies go to the other, realms to suss out what's going on. No communication whatsoever.
He could have had a Nightshade spy in his service.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had it so that Grimm was Oro's spy and on his side the whole time.
Yeah.
And Grimm went to different regions and reported back to Oro with his mirror.
And if he has illusion
like a
magic,
Snape situation.
Yeah, if he's got illusion magic...
He can disguise himself as anyone.
As anyone, yeah. And it doesn't even have to be Grimm. It could be any Nightshade. And the Nightshades have more of a reason than the Wildlings to want to prove themselves to the other realms. Because they have the most, like, hey guys, I want to clear my name. Because I'm surprised Grimm doesn't have assassins after him from every other realm because they think he's the one who spun the curse. His realm should be the one to go.
I think it would have been really interesting if Isla was a decoy for her Wildling ruler, and then her Wildling ruler is, like, evil. And then it would have been interesting if she was really suspicious of the Nightshades, too.
Yeah.
And instead of the love interest being a Nightshade ruler, it would have been really interesting if it was a Nightshade spy that she keeps running into, and she's like, this guy must have something to do with it.
Exactly.
But he ends up working for the king.
Yeah.
And it's like a Snape dude.
There can be, like, a ton of assassination attempts on the Nightshade ruler because everybody thinks that he's, like, the guy who spun the curses.
And the spy can be the only one who figures out that she's not actually a ruler.
Yeah.
That would have been so much more interesting.
It would have been, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so he knows about the Secret Legion, but there's like no explanation as to how.
And then he also reveals his flair,
Yeah.
is that he knows when people are lying.
So, I mean, that's made up. That's such a butthole because there's so many points in the story where
No, he knew when the fairies were lying to him.
Yeah, but that's like the only time.
No, he also knew when they were playing 20 questions. He said, have you ever met Grimm before? And then she said no, and then he looked really confused because he knew that she was telling the truth.
Yeah. Does he know that Celeste is lying about who she is?
Celeste never tells him who...
If he says, my name is Celeste?
Yeah, that he should have known.
25,
he should have known.
I'm 20 years old.
He should have known that she was lying when she said that.
Yeah, like, I mean, shouldn't he know that she's not who she says she is?
The second she says, my name is Celeste, that should have been like...
Exactly, right? Like,
why would she lie about her name?
Yeah. I mean, because her name isn't really Celeste.
No.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of stuff that's, like, plot relevant that happens in the story where it's like, no. Like, why even ask people what their secrets are if you can tell when people are lying? You could just ask somebody, do you have any secrets? Do you have powers? And then they would be able to tell you. He doesn't use that power at all. Ever. That flare. And it's such a subtle flare that you could use it without people knowing that you're using it.
Yeah, it's not like teleportation. It's not like a power.
No.
But it's a very useful power.
Yeah.
I would have given that power to Isla.
Exactly.
It's like, instead of being born with a wildling ability, I was just born with a flare. A quirk.
Yeah.
We call them quirks. And some people who have wildling abilities where they can, like, grow trees.
Yeah.
Some people can only, like, encourage their plants to grow a little bit faster, you know?
Right.
There's, like, differences in powers. Some people have, like, extra wildling powers, and some people have very little affinities, you know, and those people just have, like, secretarial jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, like, I am a princess, but I have no abilities whatsoever. I just have a quirk, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've just joined the spycraft legionnaire, blah, blah, blah.
What would be really interesting is if he could tell when other people were lying, but he couldn't tell any lies himself.
It'd be really interesting if Isla was, like, a royal bastard.
Yeah.
And so she was technically an heir, but she could never inherit the throne because she isn't a legitimate heir and she doesn't have any powers. And then instead she just becomes, like, a spy.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, but no!
Anyway, at this point in the story, he reveals his flair, as we discussed.
Yeah.
That he knows when people are lying, but friggin' the king is an idiot and, like, never used that power in any useful capacity at any point in the story, even though there would have been a bunch of really useful points to use that, like when Celeste introduces herself.
I mean, if Juniper is a barkeep on the island for 100 years at a time, he could have gone to him and asked him, do you know who spun the curses? in those 100 years. And Juniper would be like, yeah, and he'd be like, nah, bro, you're lying. You know? But everything seems to happen just during the centennial.
Yeah, no, everything seems to happen at the point when it happens in the book.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point in the story where something is revealed and then it's like, oh yeah, that was set up previously at all of these points in the book. It's like, oh, and then the king revealed that he could tell when people are lying.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well then how come that didn't come into play at any other point in the book?
It's because she only thought about it at this point in the book.
Anyway, then he says, the only reason I told everyone about your powers is because Cleo had to think that I was betraying you in order to get her to work with me, and I was only working with her so I could figure out her secret. And then he said, I knew you moved to the Palace of Mirrors and I guarded its entrance, and she thought that when she went to the Palace of Mirrors she'd be instantly assassinated. That's why she went to the Palace of Mirrors, because the Palace of Mirrors, it's revealed earlier, is the only place on the island where only wildling powers work. Nobody else's powers work in that palace or place.
Mm-hmm.
And then he followed her tonight when she followed Cleo. I don't know why apparently he was trying to meet Cleo, and then he already knew where Cleo was. And then he found Isla tailing Cleo, and he decided to follow her.
Yeah.
And he says, if she gets her hands on the heart of the island before us, I'm afraid of what she will do because it is on her isle. But then it's like, why would you tell her about the heart if you didn't want her to know because you were scared of her getting to the heart first?
Well, I mean, if it's on her isle again, 100 years go by and she never sought it out herself.
She didn't know about it until he told her, and then he told her that Isla has no powers. So I was saying, why would the king tell Cleo that Isla has no powers and reveal the existence of the heart of the island if he doesn't want her to find it?
Yeah, and not only that, but whoever warned the Oracle not to help them also presumably knows where it is.
Yeah, because he knows that they're looking for it.
Yeah.
Or they just warned the Oracle not to talk to them.
Okay. Well, why?
Yeah, the Oracle doesn't tell them anything useful anyway.
Yeah.
No, but like, why? What was the whole point of this thing where he revealed her secret to get Cleo to think that he betrayed her so that Cleo would work with him to find the heart of the island when you didn't want Cleo to find the heart of the island, and then that whole plan relies on you telling her about the heart of the island.
Why does he need Cleo's help to find the heart?
He doesn't need Cleo's help to find the heart.
If he knows that it's in Cleo's domain, he could just find it.
He said, blah, 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 blah. I trusted you, you told them, I know, I'm sorry, truly. Cleo had become suspicious. She knew we had visited Moon Isle the day before somehow. The only way to convince her to help me was to discard you, publicly. Your reaction and actions the last few weeks had to be genuine. And my sources told me Cleo has become increasingly convinced that Starling must be the one to die. That makes no sense. She wants me dead. Cleo would have killed you tonight if she wanted you gone. She nearly did. Why would she choose Starling? She believes Starling is the weakest of us. It is the smallest realm, the least developed in the last 500 years due to their curse. Isla's voice shook as she said, You don't agree, do you? He shook his head. No, Starling is essential. I told your secret not just to get Cleo to trust me, but also to cast doubt on her decision. Before, when Cleo and Celeste were paired, she couldn't kill her. When I changed them, she could have gone directly for Celeste. Isla finished. Exactly, said Oro.
Why didn't she go for Celeste?
But I'm saying, like, if his whole thing was to stop Cleo from trying to kill Celeste and to stop her from knowing about the heart, congratulations, by not pairing her with Celeste, you made it so that she could kill Celeste without any repercussion, because you're not allowed to kill the person you're paired to.
Yeah.
And now she knows about the heart, so she can go look for the heart, if you're concerned about her. You literally just made everything worse for yourself if you believed Cleo was not on your side.
What happens to people if they kill the person who they're paired with?
They're just not allowed to do it. It's part of the rules.
Yeah, but what happens if they do it anyway?
I don't know. There's no repercussions for the rules being broken.
Because then...
They never tell you what happens if you assassinate the other ruler before the 50 days either.
Yeah.
It's like, what are they going to do? Are they going to kill you?
Exactly.
Because if they kill you, then they'll just destroy your entire realm.
Exactly.
It's basically a hostage. You're basically holding your entire realm hostage.
Yeah, so like what's going to stop you from doing
But
that?
then Isla says everything he said sounded logical. Isla didn't think Cleo even cared about following the rules or winning the power promised. Not if she was the one who had spun the curses. Though if Aura was right and sharing her secret had saved Celeste, she was grateful.
How would Cleo have spun the curses?
Well, not only that...
She's not a nightshade!
Not only that, but that doesn't matter, because Aurora spun the curses anyway. But not only that, if she believed that Celeste needed to be killed but she was paired with her. Doesn't pairing with her prevent her from killing Celeste?
Yeah.
So why would the king change their pairing if that would make Celeste more likely to be killed?
Yeah, she would have gone straight to Celeste.
Exactly. Yeah. So, no, Starling is essential. Before, when Cleo and Celeste were paired, she couldn't kill her. When I changed them, she could have gone directly for Celeste. Exactly. How does that help you, Isla? That makes it worse for you.
You put me in danger. Cleo could have killed me. I was never far from you. I knew when you moved into the Place of Mirrors. I guarded its entrance, had guards stationed nearby. I didn't see any of those guys.
No, I don't get this. I literally don't get this. She says, he basically says that Cleo became suspicious, so I had to tell her. He says, I brought you here after I found you. She finally took me there tonight. That's how I found you. I was on Moon Island in the maze. The heart wasn't there, which is good, because I suspect Cleo would have tried to take it, but now we have just 2 places left to search. So there's some place that he can only get to if Cleo led him there, but that's awfully convenient.
Yeah.
Because the only reason he told everyone her secret and changed matches was to deliver drama for the story.
Yeah, well,
because if you really think about it, if he didn't want Cleo to know about the heart, and if he didn't want Celeste to be killed, that was the worst move you could make.
Yeah.
This makes no logical sense.
I mean, he already has Moonling powers because he's the Origin.
Yeah.
So why does he need Cleo to show him? And we conveniently don't see that part of the story. What would have been more interesting is if it was like a secret location that's only revealed during the curse of the Moonling, right? During the full moon. Where it's like the location of where the heart is only revealed at that point in time. So Cleo would need him to go there and get it because she can't get it herself. And she's never been able to get it for the past 500 years because the curse would kill her if she tried to go and get it.
Oh,
right?
He says, I told your secret not just to get Cleo to trust me, but also to cast doubt on her decision. But if Isla doesn't have powers, that doesn't change the fact that the Wildling realm is essential. If she doesn't have powers, who cares? The Wildling realm is still more useful than Starling.
He says Starling is essential, but he didn't explain how.
No, Starling's the least essential.
Why are they essential?
They're not essential.
They die when they turn 25?
Starling and Skyling are the least useful when it comes to their powers. They're the least useful.
Yeah.
Especially Starling, because there's like less people, because they all die at the age of 25, and they've presumably done nothing.
Yeah.
For the past 500 years. They can't advance.
Yeah.
So it's like, why wouldn't you kill Starling? Mm-hmm. And if you unpaired her from Celeste, that would make her allowed to kill Celeste now, and then just revealing that Isla doesn't have powers, that doesn't change the fact that Wildling power is the most useful one.
Exactly.
Like, dude, Oro, your plan makes no sense.
Oro's a dumb idiot.
And then he's like, oh, I needed Cleo's help to get to the one place that we need to search on Moon Isle, but I searched it and there was nothing there. So that was pointless.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the whole thing is just, again, it's
for
padding.
drama. It's for drama.
It's padding.
It's for drama, so you could have the scene where he reveals the curse, but then later explains why he had to reveal the curse. But it's like he didn't have to reveal the curse. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
And then she says, he says, trust me, and then she said, sure, and your offer still holds, and he's like, yeah, if you find the heart with me, then I'll give you first dibs on the power.
Yeah.
And then she says, if you betray me again, then I'll eat your heart. And then she tells Celeste that Cleo spun the curses, but it has like no evidence. How would she even spin the curses if only Nightshades can spin curses? Like the whole curse mechanism like is never explained. They never explain how to spin a curse.
No, I mean it's not like a ritual thing. It's not like
there's no myth, there's no story, there's no legend, there's no actual power to spin curses, there's no artifact, so how is the curse created?
How would she have even done that? With what? With water? And again, why would she curse her own realm to be drowned on a full moon?
If Nightshades are the only realm who have the power to spin curses, then how could anyone but a Nightshade have made the curse?
Yeah, and then you gotta look at what each curse does to each realm and say, okay, obviously it couldn't have been the Starlings because they have the worst curse.
But it was the Starlings.
Yeah, so that doesn't make any sense, right? And then it's like, okay, maybe the Skylings, because their curse is like a nothing curse. And the Nightshade's curse is a nothing curse. And Nightshades are the only ones who have the ability to spin curses, according to the introduction in the beginning of the story. So really, it doesn't make any sense for her to say this. It's kind of stupid.
It's very stupid.
So... Yeah.
So then she tells Celeste that it was Cleo, and Celeste is like, go find the bond breaker. And she's like, but I've looked at all the libraries, and she's like, there must be a hidden library in the mainland castle. Go ask Oro. So then there's like some sort of festival, and she wears like another revealing dress. Okay.
Yeah.
That night, Isla was a rose in bloom. A crown of flowers had been placed atop her own, bright red against her dark hair. Pink petals had been pressed against her neck and trailed into a bodice split in 3 parts. How does that work?
So I think it's like a neck high thing that's like petals, and then it's like 3 split petals like that, and then at her waist they.
So is it like a bodice split in 3 parts, like 2 petals for like the boobs, and then like 1 petal that goes all the way up to her neck,
I
like
think
a choker?
I think so.
And then they became more and more elaborate until her waist, cinched tightly by ribbons crisscrossed down her spine, until her waist cinched tightly by ribbons crisscrossed down her spine before blossoming.
So the petals are like, it's like
The
around her neck,
yeah.
and then it's cinched, and then they come out again. So they're like giant.
They became
petals.
more and more elaborate until her waist cinched tightly by ribbons crisscrossed down her spine. Like the writing's so confusing.
Yeah.
Before blossoming down her hips in giant sheets. Like they became more and more elaborate until her waist, comma, cinched tightly by ribbons crisscrossed down her spine, comma, before blooming down her hips in giant sheets. Like that should have been commas, not M dashes.
Yeah.
Rows of petals, all knitted together, trailing all the way to the floor. Her cape was a train of roses that ran 5 feet behind her.
Yeah.
That thing must be really dirty if she's walking the streets in that.
Yeah, so why would she continue to look for the bond breaker with Celeste when Oro already told her that there is no bond breaker?
The biggest thing is, how come she doesn't have a lady's maid to dress her in all of these really elaborate dresses? Because back in the day, you could never get dressed by yourself if you were royal. You need like at least 2 people to help you dress.
Yeah, because it was
and
very.
do your hair.
And it's not like she's wearing loose-fitting clothes.
No,
It's
she's
like,
wearing like very elaborate ball gowns.
How would she have tied that crisscross ribbons around
How did she
her
go to the
spine?
bathroom? She needs an attendant.
She wears a diaper. A diaper made of petals cinched around her waist. So the thing that's weird is that she says, "Oh, Oro's gonna know that me and Celeste are friends," and it's like, so what if you guys are friends? And again, if she already asked Oro about the bond breaker and he said it doesn't exist, what reason would he have to lie to her? Because he's looking for the heart of the
exactly.
island,
The
right?
second he said it doesn't exist, she should have told Celeste.
Yeah.
The literal king of the island, who's been here for hundreds of years, says it doesn't exist.
And Celeste is like not even 25.
And she's like, no, it exists, I swear.
Yeah, like why would you believe her? What proof has she given anybody in the entire story?
She's the villain. Anyway, Celeste and Isla were both dressed in elaborate gleaming representations of their realms.
Yeah, and that was the description of the dress.
Oro knew of their friendship. They didn't want anyone suspecting their alliance predated the Centennial. But here's the thing. All of the other rulers knew each other because they all went to the Centennials, like the past 5 Centennials.
Yeah, the only one who wouldn't know each other are Celeste.
Starling
Yeah.
and Wildling. That's it. But it's like, who cares if they have an alliance? All of the other rulers should have alliances too.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense for them not to have alliances.
Oro asked Cleo for her help. So, and he's been having secret chit-chats with Azul. So, what would he care? Why would he care? So, I mean...
And then she gets drunk and starts taking off her dress, like a creep. And then she, like, hits on Oro. And then she wakes up in Oro's lap because she's weird.
Embarrassing.
Friggin' Celeste gets poisoned.
Yeah.
And then she's like floating in air. And there's like the Hermione thing from Chamber of Secrets where she has something in her grasp.
Like a note in her
Yeah,
grasp.
that Isla takes out and it says Azul in it because Azul supposedly poisoned her.
Which
But this was such a butt pull because
Yeah.
Azul was not interested in playing the game at all.
No.
So it doesn't make sense for Azul to poison
He was
her.
talking about sacrificing himself.
Yeah.
For
So
the sake
if
of the
Azul
Centennial.
figured out that she was the villain, why didn't Azul tell Oro and Isla she's the villain?
And he didn't even have to tell them. He could have sent them a paper airplane.
But the thing is, Azul's not even incapacitated.
No.
It's not like he disappeared, like he was locked away and...
She just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, she didn't track down Azul and go like, why did you do this to my friend?
No.
And Azul should have sought them out immediately and been like, that's Aurora. That's not Celeste.
And do they ever go into the specifics as to how he found out?
No, they just say Azul must have found out. Exactly. Exactly. It's like there's no reason for them not to be working together at this point. Because the king told them about the heart of the island, and Azul could be like, oh yeah, the heart of the island? Well, I found out. Guess what I found out?
Yeah.
Celeste is Aurora.
That would have been a lot more interesting as if you had, like, instead of maybe 6 rulers, if you had, like, 13 rulers, like some, like...
Organization 13.
Yeah, fancy number, 13 rulers, and half of them were conspiring to do something evil, and then the other half of them were trying to work together. Basically, like in Battle Royale, you know, the Battle Royale gets really interesting, because in Battle Royale, you have some students who are like psychopaths.
Who want to kill each other.
And they're like psychotic.
It's like Danganronpa.
Yeah, and then you have the 3 main characters who band together, and you have the one guy who had gone through the Battle Royale before. So he has previous knowledge. And these guys have all done Centennials before, but they're not using any of their previous knowledge at all, so it's not interesting at all. They, like, in Battle Royale, the guy had the previous knowledge, so he knew about the island, he knew the best way to survive the game, and that would have made a really interesting mechanic if you had the only person who survived the last Centennial, because everybody else was so injured from the previous one that they quickly just had to have an heir, and then they died, right after it happened. And then you had the one guy who survived all of them, and that's Oro.
I think they should have heirs, instead of, like, you have to go to the island without an heir. I think they should have heirs, and the heirs should be, like, locked in a dungeon, and the heirs are what's at stake. Like, if you die, if you lose, then they kill you and your heir.
Yeah,
or something. Because, like, it doesn't make sense to put everything on the line for one competition. Like, that's so dumb.
Why is that a rule?
And why is the ruler the person who has to fight?
And how do you ensure that you have no heirs for 100 years? If Grimm is sleeping around as often as he says he is.
Exactly.
What, do Nightshades also specialize in contraceptives?
Seriously. I can abort an unborn fetus without even touching you.
Yeah.
I can open a black hole in your uterus. Yeah, so then they go to this underwater tomb where they think the heart might be, and then this is totally pointless, and Oro gets naked, and then Isla's like, I don't want to look, but I keep looking at his bronze and blue body. And then she starts taking off her clothes, because she's weird. And then she runs into a mermaid, which doesn't show up ever again. And then she almost dies. And then Oro saves her. And then the heart wasn't there.
Oh, surprise,
And this is when he reveals that the cannibals who tried to eat her when her eyes were closed were wildlings. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't ever come back.
Yeah, and she said that they were men, as if, and I guess that just confirms that there's no wildlings who are men left in the wildling realm.
No, because she describes her island as Amazonian at one point, but it's like, what do you know of the Amazons?
Exactly.
It's not set on
what are you talking
planet
about?
Earth.
Yeah, and I don't know, like the world building is just, that's all over the place, so.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Then she goes to the castle's ancient store of weaponry and grabs a bunch of weapons, which we already talked about why that's stupid, because, like, why would you leave your best weapon behind, the one that you're trained with?
Yeah, and then Crystal Methods, the name of the game, plays as she's readying up to kill those wildlings.
And then she's like, I know where the heart of the island is.
Yeah.
And she flashes back to this bird that kept jumping on her shoulder and screeching in her ear, and she's like, what if the bird, because previously she thought it was Cleo's alarm system.
Yeah.
But then she's like, what if the bird isn't Cleo's alarm system? What if the bird is trying to tell us where the heart is? And that just came out of nowhere. That just came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere!
Ah, I forgot about how stupid that was.
Remember? It was so dumb.
I remember that. No, but with this knowledge, or this idea that she has that Cleo's the one who spun the curses, why wouldn't she seek her out and talk to her about that?
Why wouldn't you seek out Azul?
Yeah. Or seek out... Yeah, no Azul, no Cleo, no telling Oro, hey, did Cleo spin the curses? Nothing like that.
None of the other rulers ever approached them to be like, hey, can we help you look for the heart of the island?
Where's Grimdark? What's he doing?
Sharting in the bathroom.
What's he doing?
Grimshark.
What's Grimdark doing? She can summon him with her necklace.
Yeah.
And days are passing at a time. And she only does maybe like half an hour's worth of activity in a day. And what? Then she goes home and she goes, oh boy, doing nothing all day sure is tiring. And she puts her feet up. I mean, what is she doing all day that these days are passing? Because they have the ticking time thing.
Well,
where it's like
they're
100
walking.
days.
Wherever they go to look for the heart, they have to walk there. So that probably takes all day.
We don't know how big the island is.
No, we don't. And then they go to Moon Isle to find the blue bird, and then they find a nest.
Wait, do they say anything about guards when they go to the Moon Isle this time? Did they have to sneak
No,
past the
this
guards
is when
again?
the stupid Vinderlanders, which is the name of the people who used to be wildling, this is when they attack them.
Oh, yeah.
And then she, like, kills a bunch of dudes who used to be wildlings, and Oro kills them too.
Yeah.
But he has, like, an energy sword, like in Halo. He manifests one using his Starling ability. See, a blade went right through the man's chest. He made a gurgling sound, then choked on his own blood before falling over onto the snow. Oro stood there holding a sword, but he hadn't been armed, or so she had thought. How come he didn't walk in armed? What an idiot. She watched in wonder as the silver sword disappeared in a burst of sparks. He had created it from starling energy. She hadn't known a thing like that could be done. I know. I was confused too, because I read that part earlier where she's like, demonstrate your powers and why you'd be useful to the realm, and like 12 dudes made a sword in front of her, and she's like, what a useless...
Yeah!
what a useless ability.
What do you mean? You hadn't known that could be done. They did that like a couple days ago.
No, that's why I thought it was an energy sword, because it wasn't explicitly said to be a, metal sword.
No, it's a silver sword.
No, it disappears. It disappears in a burst of sparks, and it's silver, not silver metal, but like gleaming silver.
What's the difference between that and
I don't know. This
sword?
is me interpreting the text, okay? I'm interpreting the text like a scholar would. And I just imagined the light sword from Halo 2.
Yeah.
That's because otherwise it like he shoves it in, bzzzt, and then it disappears in a shower of sparks.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's just an energy sword.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, I didn't know that could be done.
Yeah.
But like, Oro, why wouldn't you just get a regular sword? Because this guy is so busted. Like, too much energy and the whole island falls into the sea.
Exactly.
So why are you summoning energy swords instead of just using a regular sword?
Exactly. When he did all those decorations for the party, his vein was bursting, and then all the nobles talking
He suffered
to him.
from a massive hemorrhage.
Yeah, and he just, you know, Spike Lee camera action on him, and he just, like, died pretty much at that.
They're dead! They're all dead!
But anyway, yeah, stupid Oro, squandering his talents on energy swords.
Yeah, wasting his people away.
Yeah. Then he flies like Superman, and then they get to a tree made of white feathers blooming from the ice. Of course, the perfect host for the heart. Not really, because the heart is supposed to be in something living, and if it's frozen, that means it's dead.
Yeah.
By definition, like, frozen tundra is inhospitable to life. So how is this the perfect vessel? But anyway, that's like going to the mouth of a volcano and seeing all the lava and being like, of course, the lava, the perfect host for life.
Yeah, and so she searches it, and she thinks Cleo had gotten to it first, because it's not there.
Then she finds a nest.
Yeah, so but she looks through the whole thing, right? The whole roots and everything, and she goes, it's not there. And they've got 20 days left, and she didn't think that the island would make it 10, but I haven't seen any island destruction going on.
Oh, this is so stupid. This is when she says, how did you find out about the heart? I read it in a book. One I found in a hidden library. Then they go to the library. So this is after she goes like, oh, the bird is what's gonna lead us to the heart of the island.
Yeah.
And then it's not there. And then they go to the library, the secret library that the king never showed her before. And then they read about it for days, you know? And then this is when Oro reveals that her ancestor also created the island.
Yeah.
And her ancestor's name was Lark Crown. The island was named after her, Lightlark.
Oh my god.
And then it can only that's why I needed you to find the heart. It can only be found and unlocked by one of us. Sunling, Wildling, or Nightshade. I assumed with both of us, only joined can the curses be undone. That's a line in the prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
He was simply following the prophecy. So then she thinks that so if only a Sunling, Wildling, or Nightshade could access the heart's powers, then only one of their realms had spun them. Not Cleo. That didn't make any sense. But this goes nowhere because it ends up being a starling anyway.
Exactly.
So like even within the context of her own rules, she ends up breaking them anyway.
It's another time waste.
It's a waste of time because she's like, only a Sunling, Wildling, or Nightshade could have done it. But then she's like, if only a Sunling, Wildling, or Nightshade could have done it. That's like Oro, whoever the Wildling ancestor was, or the Nightshade. But it ends up being none of them because at the end of the day, you didn't even need to use the heart to spin the curse.
No.
That ends up being a total waste of time. The actual original offense that the prophecy refers to is Aurora, the big bad who's disguised as Celeste, killing her best friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which is just stupid. Azul had poisoned Celeste. He wasn't the jovial haunted ruler. That's like
the jovial haunted ruler.
Yeah, that's a very.
He wasn't the constipated ruler with diarrhea.
Exactly.
What?
Exactly. He wasn't the jovial haunted ruler who had charmed Isla with his music. He just blew wind through a couple holes.
Very charming.
He just made made the mountain fart a couple times. Much music, so jovial.
Or like his charming little paper airplane.
Yeah, right.
I can't believe she didn't look at that and go sit the F down, Azul. He wasn't the jovial haunted ruler who had smashed a bunch of people with rocks during the ball. Azul sucks.
Azul, why did you do it? Why didn't you just cut the rocks with your wind? Now I know that you could have saved them and you didn't. I wanted to see what would happen if I let the rock.
Exactly.
He was a calculating ruler with a plan. She remembered the conversation she had overheard so many weeks before. Oro had been fighting with Azul over a strategy to end one of the realms. The king had assured Isla she was safe. She had assumed Azul had meant to destroy the Moonling realm.
Doesn't make any sense. He was planning to offer his own realm.
Yeah, at some point she listened to a conversation between the two of them, and the king was calling him a fool.
Yeah.
And it was because Azul offered to commit Sudoku.
Yeah.
Because he's sad that his
husband
died. And then she's like, what was his plan? And then she goes to the place of mirrors, and she invited Grimm there, and then she said, oh, Grimm reveals that he knew all along, that he knew she didn't have powers.
Yeah.
He says, you've ruined me, tortured, you haven't stopped tormenting me since the first moment I saw you. A few conversations with you and I was ready to make the most disadvantageous trade, all of me in exchange for any part of you you'd be willing to spare. But like, Isla's like as deep as a puddle, so what conversations would be so enlightening to a 1,000-year-old dude?
This is like a cutscene from Dragon Age when you,
I know!
when you give your companion a lot of gifts and then they start like trying to seduce you and your character is just making those like...
So, what would you do if someone told you that they loved you? Right, well, how do you woo them? Is there a technique or... So, you're female, Liliana, right? I hate you. You're a bad person.
And then they like make out, and then there's like a sexy and a young adult novel, which is just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then she spends the rest of the days like studying in the library to find the heart.
It's so boring.
It's really boring. These chapters are really pointless, but then she finally has a total breakthrough that comes out of nowhere, just like with the bird.
Yeah.
And then she says, where darkness meets light, behind her eyelids there was only darkness. She imagined it, darkness meeting light, what it would look like, what colors it would make. She frowned against her arm. She didn't have to imagine it. She'd seen it countless times, thousands of instances throughout her life. Isla's head shot up so quickly, pain pulsed through her forehead. Oro's eyes widened slightly. What is it? What if it's not a place, but a time? What?
What?
What if it's not a place but a time? What? She stared at him. Dawn, at dusk, when darkness meets light. Oro's 1,000 years old and he's a freaking dummy.
He's so
Does
stupid.
his brain continue to age? Like, is it like an old school modem internet dial-up speed brain?
Well, he
Because
blinked
he's
away
1,000 years old?
fatigue like clearing cobwebs, so he does definitely sound super dusty.
He was so focused, Isla could almost see his mind working behind his eyes, spinning possibilities. It's like a loading bar.
The spinny wheel.
Yeah, exactly, the spinny wheel, that's his brain. I searched the island for decades and I never found it.
What a moron.
But wait, the entire time they were looking, he was like, there's only like a handful of places it could be. And I thought he searched all of the places with Isla.
Yeah.
So it only took them less than 100 days to search the entire island.
It took them less than 50 days to
So
search the entire
so
island.
how was he looking for it by himself for decades?
He wasn't. That's called a CYA right there. That's like when you have a group project and you're like, my aunt died, I couldn't do my part of the project, I tried to do it, but then my uncle used my part of the essay to, you know, like,
wipe his tears
and they ruined my essay. I did do the essay, like, months ago, but it got ruined. So now, and then she's like, what are you talking about? You were asking me for everything about the essay.
Yeah, you waited until I showed up. You waited until I showed up, and then you waited for 50 days to pass before you started looking for the heart.
Yeah, so what are you talking about? You're just such a friggin' liar. For the guy who can tell when other people are lying, he's full of crap. Honestly, he's so full of crap.
Maybe it gave him a big head, and he's like, since I know when other people are lying, now I can lie with impunity, because nobody can tell when I'm lying.
So stupid, man.
But then he says, perhaps this is why. The cursed Sunling King couldn't be out at dusk or dawn, both times too close to sunlight. They had always searched for the heart at night, long after the sun had disappeared. It would explain why the heart hadn't been in any of the places they had checked. Maybe it had, but it had been hidden. What if he just checked the same places over and over and over again?
And then he forgot. He forgot that he was checking.
No, he didn't forget. He was like, maybe it was like, you know, in Mario, sometimes like a special coin will show up, but it's like in one location. And then if you trigger the special event, it'll be in a different location.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like that. And he kept cycling through every single time in the same order, trying to find it again, and he could never find it.
Like a game of Mario.
Yeah, like, you know, like in, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Super Mario Sunshine, yeah.
Yeah, where you trigger, like, the special blue coin, and then it, like, hops to different places, but it follows a pattern.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I'm gonna check this place, then this place, then this place, and this place, and then he just checks in the same pattern every single time. For decades.
The world building in this story is like a video game, where it makes zero sense, and it's just based on game mechanics.
It's based on game logic and game limitations.
And, like, the entire story, again, is like Dragon Age 1, where you have to go, let's talk to the elves, let's talk to the dwarves, let's go to,
It's a series of tropes, and then, like, the world is strangely empty and hollow and very small.
Yeah.
Like a Disneyland park.
Yeah. And then what's that place called?
Epcot?
Not Epcot. In Dragon Age 1, the place where you have to go inside the guy's brain and pull him out of the dream, and his wife is a total
Mage
jerk.
Tower?
It's not the Mage Tower, but you also have to go to the Mage Tower.
Oh, you mean that one town that you have to go to get the Baron out because his son's a mage?
I would let all those people die without giving them a chance.
And so it's literally like that, and that game is so frustrating because
it's very arbitrary.
It's super arbitrary. You just keep doing the same things.
Checklist.
Yeah, it's a fetch quest, one giant fetch quest, and this book is structured like one giant fetch quest.
And you have to read it. You have to read through all of the pointless stuff, but that doesn't advance the plot. It's just like, it's just here to take up time.
Exactly.
And to create the illusion of a plot because the characters are doing something, but what the characters do has no impact on the story.
It's level grinding.
Yeah, that's like that other book I just read, where it's like a bunch of stuff happens, but it's like it has no impact on the story. It's just to create the illusion of a story.
Yeah.
It's like just because A and B happens, if A and B don't lead to C or don't impact C in any way, then what was the point of including A and B in the story?
Yeah, it's a little, so this book is a little bit like a video game where you have the fetch quest aspect of it, but then it's also got the long-running syndicated television show like Lost.
It reminds me of Inuyasha.
Yeah.
Where there's a background plot, but what the characters are doing in each episode is like, it doesn't matter.
You gotta get
doesn't
the
matter at all.
Jewel.
Yeah, it doesn't matter for the background plot at all.
Yeah, the shards, the fetch quest.
Oro smiled. She'd never seen him this happy.
And then she says, I know where the heart is.
Oh, and this is where they follow the bird. This is where they follow the bird. So I spoke too soon. Earlier, she thought it was in the place where Cleo had frozen her, and that was where the tree feather place had been. And this time, she's like, oh, it's actually the bird that will lead us to the heart. I don't know why the bird...
Did she explain?
No, she just said, the moment she knew, surrounded by the Vinderland, that she had been saved by Oro. He had found her against all odds. I found the bird, he'd said. She smirked. The same creature that had almost marked her death had saved her life. Oro raised an eyebrow at her, wondering at her thoughts. Isla froze. She felt the blood drain from her face, and Oro shot out a hand to steady her, just as she braced herself against the table. The bird had followed her relentlessly every time they had set foot on Moon Isle. She had assumed it had been Cleo's eyes and ears, but what if she had been wrong? What if it had been trying to tell her something?
Why would you have a bird in a frozen wasteland when birds are known for migrating to the south when it gets cold?
That's why I thought the bird was like, you know, Spy Kids 2, like a robot bird. You know, Spy Kids 2, like a robot bird. That's why it makes sense for the bird to be a spy for Cleo, if it's like some kind of mechanical or magical artifact. But if it's a real bird, then why is a bird in the tundra?
Birds are extremely cold sensitive.
Yeah.
To the fact that when you keep birds as pets, you have to keep them insulated, because they will die if they don't have optimal temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So dumb.
They go find the bird again.
The wind whipped her cheeks so violently, she wondered if Azul was responsible. Azul.
Oh yeah, Alex asked her, forgot that she never brought up Azul again. And then Oro says, there must be a mistake. Azul has never wanted to hurt another ruler. He's never even tried to form an alliance. She just told him how the Skyling had poisoned Celeste. Wasn't that proof enough that he wasn't innocent? But why was Oro defending him? But the fact that he poisoned her goes against every aspect of his character.
That too.
He would just tell Oro, hey, that's Aurora.
Yeah.
Instead of poisoning her.
Yeah.
Because, like, he poisoned her and then he disappeared.
Where'd he go?
Exactly. There's no reason for him to disappear. He should have just told them, I found Aurora and I poisoned her.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense.
No.
Then they follow the bird. They get to a nest. So the tree with the feathers was totally pointless.
Yeah.
Waste of our time.
It was totally pointless.
So this is a different tree. And they find the nest. And then they wait until dawn. They go into a cave. Wait until dawn.
And then he gets sick.
Moon Isle shook. The island is crumbling. Are you all right?
And then she starts singing for him.
Like
Pippin in Denethor's Hall.
Come, sing me a song.
Yeah. And then it's dawn, and then this totally reminds me of Mario. Right below the nest, something was floating in the air, untethered to gravity. And I imagine, like, you know, in Mario, there's like sparkling. It's like floating.
It's Yoshi's egg.
It's floating, and then it has those little Mario eyes, and then it's also sparkling. And then as you get closer to it, you hear like a little sparkle noise.
Yeah, like Nirnroot.
Yeah, that's what I imagine.
Yeah. Hovering.
Is that an egg? She asked. Just as the words left her mouth, the egg fell. Slowly, too slowly, it plunged to the ground and cracked open. Doing! From its shell emerged a shining gold yolk.
I think Alex Astor was so hungry when she wrote this book. Because she keeps talking about cakes and pastries
and eggs.
And egg yolks and chocolate and tea. She was like so hungry when she wrote this book.
Yeah, it rose from the ground in tandem with the sun rising from the horizon just across the cliff.
The heart had returned as the very basis of life. An egg.
No, but what? No, does this happen every night? Like, if nobody's around, does the egg fall, like, hover around the nest and sparkle, and then fall to the ground, and then and then, like, when the sun goes up, like, fully completes the sunrise, it goes back into the egg, and then the egg floats back into the nest? Like, how does this work? If nobody's around, does the egg still crack open?
And the author describing the sun as Yoki was.
Oh yeah, by this whole time, that was secretly foreshadowing, not just Alex Astor's weird writing.
That would be like
the full egg represented the moon. She said, her voice hoarse from singing. The yolk is the sun. How many times had she thought the full moon looked like an egg? That the sun looked yolky. Alex Astor's trying to, like, pull a fast one over us. Like, it's not that I'm a bad writer. I was, like, setting this up the whole time.
No, I mean, she says that Grimm's hair is like ink. How crazy would it be if he's like, oh, you need something to write with? And then a bunch of ink
How many times had she thought that Grimm's hair looked like ink?
Exactly.
No, you know what? It would have been really interesting if it was hair dye and he had the same hair potion that she did. And he wasn't actually a nightshade. How many times had she thought that Grimm's hair looked like ink? Of course!
Oh, because it was a fresh dye job every time.
Exactly. See?
Yeah.
Me clever.
No, it would also be funny if she tried to punch Cleo, but then her hand shattered. And she'd be like, how many times had she thought she looked like she was made of marble and diamonds? It's because she was made of marble and diamonds.
I was gonna make that joke about Oro, that he was made of... she punched him and he clanged. How many times did you thought he looked like bronze? He actually was a bronze hog.
Dumb book. The very basis of life, an egg.
Oro had presumed it was a plant, but this time her heart had returned as the very basis. The heart had returned as the very basis of life, an egg. But an egg isn't the basis of life. I mean, plants don't have eggs.
What if... Hey, here's a peach egg that you can bury in the backyard.
A seed is the basis of life. Not an egg.
No, like, that's so stupid.
Or an atom.
No.
A bacterium.
Do you think somebody told her about what came first, the chicken or the egg? And she's like, that is so good. You know, that is so interesting. I'm gonna put that into my
you know
story.
what? That reminds me. I heard this really great insult. Somebody said, even if you rounded up all of these people and put them in a primordial soup and electrified them, you still wouldn't get the basic building blocks of life.
That's all 6 rulers.
Yeah, you took all 6 rulers, put them in the primordial soup and electrified them, you still wouldn't get the basic building blocks of life.
Yeah, no, I mean, an egg, no. I mean, they don't even have science. What do they know about eggs? To them, an egg is just something a chicken lays.
and a chicken egg is not. I mean, if it's got a yolk in it, that's not the basis of life. That just means that it's a discarded.
Yeah,
it's
it's not fertilized.
Yeah, it's a period.
Yeah,
the basis of life is like an embryo.
it's a fertilized, and seeds are they grow because they're fertilized. It's fertilization.
It's not an egg.
No. It'd be so funny if Oro ate the floating yolk.
Oro watches the
That sentence is so funny.
Oro watched the floating yolk and its discarded shell with such awe. She wondered if he might sink his teeth into it. No, if he might sink to his knees. Then she touches the heart and somebody shoots her through the heart. And this is another frickin' butt pull. Vinderland, here to get revenge. Arrows still drawn. They pulled their strings to strike her again and died. What? They pulled back their strings to strike her again and died? Oh, Oro killed them all in an instant.
Good old Alex keeping us on our toes.
Yeah. They literally died.
They're like, ugh.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Wait, what?
That's what it's like reading this book. You're like, read a sentence, your eye like stops and goes, huh? And then you read the next sentence and you go, oh. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, and then Grimm appears from thin air because she yanks the necklace.
Yeah, she's basically bleeding out. She'd
Yeah.
survived too long already. Stolen seconds the heart's power had no longer given her, or no doubt given her. She clutched the heart of Lightlark with one hand, her own sputtering its last beats with the other. She reached up and pulled on her necklace. And then Grimm saves her because Oro can't leave the cave. But how did he kill those people?
Oro?
Yeah.
He killed them all in an instant.
Yeah, but how? Is he Thanos now? Yeah, exactly.
No description of like flames shooting out,
No.
energy sword.
No, before he had to use the energy sword and like fight like a normal person,
Yeah.
and now he's just able to kill them all in an instant somehow.
Did he turn them all into gold or something?
I don't know. I don't know how he killed them all in an instant. I don't know.
Yeah, and then she fades through stars and time, and every minute felt like an eternity.
The heart had been keeping her alive. She knew that for certain when she dropped it and the world had gone dark. Then she was falling through an endless puddle of stars. And I think that's because Grimm is teleporting her. So then that is like the foreshadowing that the teleportation is actually a Nightshade power, not a Starling power.
Of course it's another Nightshade power, because they don't have enough powers as is, right?
No, of course not. Isla didn't have powers. Did the heart still recognize her? She had to use the heart, and part of Oro's interpretation of the prophecy had been completed, only when the original offense had been committed again. Celeste shows up.
Yeah. But not before she sneaks a nasty line to Grimm. Oh, I just died, but I want to do 1,000 things with you.
Ew.
She said, shuddering as her chest burned.
And then she went...
The wound is still tender.
I know.
Disgusting,
And
bro.
then she went to Celeste's room, but Celeste is somehow awake.
Yeah.
How'd Celeste become awake? Who killed her?
She goes, Celeste, I thought you. And Celeste goes, I know.
Yeah. But how'd Celeste heal?
I don't know.
I found the heart. What? Celeste said like she might not have heard her correctly. And then she tells Celeste to leave, or to stay hidden. Oro shows up, and then Oro says, meet me in the library. They say that the reason she didn't die instantly when she got pierced through the heart with an arrow is because the heart, she was holding the heart of the island, and it saved her, and like gave her some of its energy or some of its power. And then the prophecy basically is only joined can the curses be undone. Only after one of 6 is won, when the original offense has been committed again and a ruling line has come to an end, only then can history amend. And then Isla says all of the rulers were joined on the island. That's the first part. I know, exactly. Then it's like, then why didn't they invite Grimm to any of the previous centennials? It's like, you're an idiot. Like, the prophecy itself requires that he be there.
Exactly.
But anyway, then she says she committed the original offense by using the heart. Oro says you have to choose which realm to save. And then she says Starling, and then he's like, okay, then we're gonna kill Nightshade. And then, oh yeah, before he said, I can't kill Nightshade because Grimm is the only thing standing between us and an even greater danger.
Did that ever come back into play?
No, and then
is that sequel based?
And then she says here, like, I thought you said we couldn't kill Grimm because he's the only thing standing between us and an even greater danger. Yeah. And then he's like, yeah, that was true, but not anymore.
Now that we found the heart.
Now that we found the heart.
What was he talking about?
Exactly. Then? It's just, like, also convenient so that Alex Astor can say, like, but what about this? Oh, well, in that case, blah, blah, blah.
What does Grimm have to do with finding the heart?
Nothing.
So then,
no, think about it this way. if the king's plan to break the curse relied on them finding the heart,
Yeah.
then why would he even bring up that Grimm is the only thing standing between them and an even greater danger in the first place?
And why did
Because if your plan to reverse the curse involves finding the heart, then the fact that you have to find the heart kind of renders that point moot in the first place. So why even bring it up?
Yeah.
Because he didn't even have to say that. He could just be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna kill Grimm when this is all over. He didn't even have to say that Grimm's the only thing keeping us from greater danger. He could have just been like, once we have the heart, I'm gonna kill Grimm. Because his plan to remove the curse involves them finding the heart. The heart held unparalleled nightshade power, because I guess the heart allows you to wield the power of the people who made the island.
Yeah.
But it's like you just keep adding more rules and more, it's like a freaking Apple contract.
These business casual G-men are trying to kidnap me. What? It's crazy, dude. They're saying it's because I agreed to the latest terms and conditions on iTunes. You didn't read them? Who the hell reads that entire thing every time it pops up? I do.
These 3 people have agreed to be brought here, handcuffed to these beds, and become the prototype of our first truly interface device. Their lips will be removed, and they will be sewn together mouth to anus.
What?
You agreed to this, leading through his anus to the mouth of the female who completely agreed. They all agreed.
Yeah. Like, there's just more rules, more stipulations, and it just doesn't fit together very well. It just feels like it's just a bunch of CYA.
It is. It's CYA and padding.
So then she says, what about Cleo? I don't know how, but she spun the curses. I don't know how either, because the rules of the world don't allow this to happen.
No.
She must have teamed up with someone else who could wield the heart. She's the reason for all of this, because only a nightshade, a freaking wildling, or a sunling could wield the heart.
Exactly.
So
then who else would she have teamed up with? There's no other characters in the story who are suspicious.
She tried to kill me twice. That may be, and if she did spin the curses, she will be tried. If she did, there are thousands of moonlings on this island. I will not sentence them all to death because of the actions of their ruler. But he was perfectly fine allowing the entire Nightshade realm to die.
True. I mean, that's a fair point.
What about Azul? He obviously has some sort of plan to overtake power on Lightlark. He can't be trusted.
She's just coming out of stuff out of her butt now.
He only tries to speak to his beloved one last time. What about his plan? I heard you both. His plan was to sacrifice himself, give himself up as the ruler to die to end the curses. He knew the island's days were numbered after my demonstration. He was willing to sacrifice himself, his people, if it meant saving everyone else. They have a democratic rule. His realm agreed with him. They voted for it. So they all agreed to just die.
And then she says, that's not true. He tried to kill Celeste. Basically repeating herself.
I mean, it's true, though. He did try to kill Celeste.
Yeah.
So all he cares about is talking to his beloved one last time. Then why did you try to kill Celeste?
I don't know why he would do that. I'm sure there's a reason.
And then she has another realization.
No, wait. I'm sure there's a reason he cuts himself off. Because he's not getting interrupted by anybody. But he cuts himself off. I'm sure there's a reason. You know, like,
no, because she has her own realization here. Only one other person knew about Juniper's letter to Isla and Celeste. One person knew about Celeste's poisoning before anyone else. One person had complete access to the castle and could move freely, practically unnoticed. Ella. It's like, this whole realization is pointless because Ella didn't even do anything.
No.
And she doesn't, it's not like she goes to find Ella and then gets information from her.
No, Ella also has control over all of her food and her wardrobe, presumably.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like the fact that she's like, oh, it must have been Ella, like, that doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't lead to her tracking Ella down and then Ella being like, no, actually, here's some other information that'll lead to who actually did it.
No, she just says Ella and that's it.
And then she goes back to don't kill Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
I saw his flare, Isla. He can travel between Lightlark and Nightshade in a moment. Do you know how dangerous that is? When the curses are broken and Nightshade decides to attack again while we are still vulnerable, still healing, he can transport his entire army here in the blink of an eye without warning. But I didn't know that. I thought he had to hold onto someone to transport them. So how could he teleport an entire army here?
How come he didn't teleport people out of the castle when it was collapsing?
Because you can only teleport one person at a time.
So then what's this stuff about his army?
Exactly, it doesn't make sense.
Do they have to link hands like monkeys in a barrel?
That's what I'm saying, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and then she holds a dagger to his throat.
Yep, and then she leaves because she didn't have the stones to do it.
Yep. It's very dramatic.
Isla had a plan. It wasn't perfect. It made her a liar, thief, and hypocrite, but it was nothing more than she'd already been in the last 90 days. So then she decides to... Oh my god, this is so flip-floppy. Then she goes to Celeste and she says, I think I know where the Brawn Breaker is and I have a plan for us to use it, but not only us. Like Grimm in on our original plan, let us split the blood cost of the Bond Breaker 3 ways.
The Bond Breaker.
Yeah, back
again.
to the stupid Bond Breaker. It just keeps showing up like every 5 chapters. Oh. Just to keep complicating the story. She didn't know what love felt like, but this is the sacrifice. Rulers and love could share power. If he loved her too, she could bring whatever power they shared back to her lands to save her realm. But the thing that doesn't make any sense is that if the bond breaker, like, works 3 ways, why not just split it between all the rulers to remove everyone's curse?
Because the bond breaker doesn't exist.
I know, but, like, why is her and Celeste's plan to just split it between the 2 of them and nobody else?
Because they're dumb. Like, they literally act like dumb kids. And everybody else is acting like an NPC from a video game. So it's like you have 2 dumb kid main characters and everybody else is like a dumb NPC from a video game. And when they're not in the story, they're just not being programmed.
They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
They're just in empty, unrendered space.
Yeah.
Like, Azul supposedly poisoned her and then just effed off.
I'd rather not talk about it.
Is she just eating chocolates all day? Like, what's going on? The place of mirrors. Oro's powers would be nullified there, but enchantments like the Bondbreaker would still work.
Why?
I'll get the Bondbreaker. You bring whatever remaining healing elixir you have to close our wounds after the blood is shed. And that's it. That's all we bring, so no one becomes suspicious. Why would anyone be suspicious?
Who is there to be suspicious?
Who's watching you?
Who? Ella?
Yeah, who's watching you?
The villagers?
She never goes back to Ella to be like, why did you betray me? She gets all emo that Oro isn't there anymore. And then Grimm decides to help her. And then she takes him to the forest. Yeah, see, this is the part. They landed. Grimm braced himself. If Isla was wrong, his skin would begin to split open just like Oro's had under the sun. He would die, but nothing happened.
Yeah, so...
She tells him to teleport to the place of mirrors at night, and he miraculously doesn't die.
Yeah, so in the place of mirrors, curses are not...
No, it's supposedly no one's powers work, but then it's also like no one's curses work either.
So her powers should work there.
Exactly.
She should have wildling powers that work at the place of mirrors.
Exactly. And also, she didn't even know that no one's curse would work there. She just assumed. And then she was like, okay, Grimm, the one that I love most in the world, let's gamble your life on my assumption. Yeah. And then she's like, if she was wrong, he would die. You know?
And his entire realm would die.
Exactly,
too, right?
Exactly. So much for trying to save the Nightshade realm. But then he miraculously survives. Like, good thing you bet right on that pony, man.
Yeah.
And then he's like super happy that he can see the night sky. And then he says, will you ever forgive me? And then he said, you asked me just minutes ago if I trusted you when I should have asked you if you could trust me. And then she said, what? And then he said, and then he starts calling her heart. Yeah. Your dreams, the one you asked me about, are not dreams. What? They're memories. Memories.
Ugh.
What are you talking about? And then, I've never been to Nightshade Lands. You have, you just don't remember. I had to take away your memories, all the ones with me in them. Just like he had offered to do with Juniper. So he has the power to take away memories, and I guess he opens black holes in people's brains.
That explains Isla's thinking process.
He calls her star stick a Nightshade relic, and she says it's a Starling relic, and then he said, no it isn't, it's Nightshade. Who do you think its power came from? And then she said, I've never been to Nightshade Lands, and he said, where do you think we were before you portaled back to your room for the Centennial? She remembered arriving at her room through her puddle of stars, right before Tara and Poppy had entered it, right before fixing her crown atop her head and addressing her people. But she didn't remember where she'd been. So it's like Inception.
Yeah.
And then so she had just come from seeing Grimm, who erased her memories, and then Grimm saw her a few minutes later and acted like he didn't know her.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how he knows this, but he also says something like, your heart, it doesn't only belong to you. How does he know that?
What does that mean?
Because later on, when she uses the heart of the island, she's like, oh, my heart doesn't only belong to me. Anyway, then Celeste says, we'll figure it out together, and then she pierces her skin, and then the Bondbreaker's cost was said to be at least 1 gallon of blood from a ruler. That's when you were like, where's that? And I was like, it's on page 381 of the friggin' Kindle version, bro.
Yeah. She brings her healing elixir.
She brings her healing elixir to close the wound, but that would be, you would already be like bled out by the time 1 gallon leaves you.
You gotta like have it being punctured, and you gotta go be like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how, but you know, again,
it's like when you have a water filter and you're filling a bottle and putting water in the filter at the same time.
It's very risky. But another thing is that, you know, that wildling healing stuff, either it can heal you or it can take away the pain.
But what if how does she decide what it does?
Okay.
Is it like Schrodinger's
I'll
healing?
Go for the pain. Wait, no! I meant heal!
Exactly.
No!
And is it like based on your thoughts? So like a split second thought of like, I wish I wouldn't have to feel this? It's like, you got it, boss. No!
And so she's like, I feel fine. And then she dies.
Exactly.
Die.
stupid.
Yeah.
Like, it should just be like, it only healed, but it didn't take away the phantom pain of the injury.
Yeah, and so
not
now...
one or the other, because, like, then it's like the ointment has a consciousness.
Exactly.
But anyway, so then Celeste puts the needle in her hand, and then Grimm says, no, don't do it. But why didn't he tell her not to do it? Like, she told him, come with me to the place of mirrors to use the bond breaker.
Not only that, but Grimm can read people. He's read Isla's emotions multiple times. He should be able to read Celeste as well. And Oro can tell when people are lying. And Cleo...
she says, Celeste and I know each other. We have an ancient relic that will help the three of us. We're going to break our bonds tonight. And Grimm says, you would do that for me? And then when he sees her with Celeste, he's like, don't do it. So, but he should have known, because he already knew that Celeste was Aurora. He should have known, don't trust her.
Exactly.
Don't trust anything she says. Don't do it.
Exactly.
We can figure out a way to reverse this together.
Again, like, the characters are all stupid. They're either NPCs.
Because Grimm only says no when he physically sees the bond breaker.
Yeah.
He's like, don't do it. But it's like, why didn't you just say no? No item like that exists on the island.
No,
She's tricking you.
He'd be like, okay, you do that for me? Yeah, I gotta see this for myself. And then he sees, it's like, they say, hey dude, we found a gun behind the Wendy's parking lot. You gotta see it. We're gonna do practice shooting targets. Oh, okay, this I gotta see.
She told him they were gonna break the bonds together.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, we're gonna use a gun and play Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds fun. And then he goes there and they're playing Russian roulette. Don't do it!
Exactly. Stupid.
Like, it's so dumb.
Yeah.
And then she, like, stabbed herself with the needle, and then, her friend's eyes had changed. They were darker, a deep silver instead of gray, but deep silver and gray are just two different shades of gray.
Yeah.
She didn't recognize that smile. Celeste's silver hair began to float around her head. Her back arched just as Isla doubled over, suddenly lightheaded. Her skin felt too thin, yet Celeste's skin gleamed far too brightly. The bond breaker was taking something from her and giving it to Celeste, something important. And then she was flung back against the glass by Celeste, but her powers didn't work in here. And then it turns out that Celeste is Aurora, who is the lady who was supposed to marry Oro's brother, so his sister-in-law. Egan. And then Celeste took her powers, so Celeste has wildling powers now. And Celeste took a step towards her. Blood dripped from the puncture on the starling ruler's palm. 6 droplets, one sizzled, one floated, one burst, one became dark as ink, one froze, one hit the ground and bloomed into a crimson rose. Celeste's blood contained abilities from all 6 realms. Impossible. It was as if she had just drained Oro and Grimm of all their power. But she hadn't even touched them, and it didn't explain all 6 droplets. And then it turns out that Celeste is secretly Aurora, and she planned this whole thing from the very beginning, starting with Isla's birth.
Yeah. So this bond breaker isn't really a bond breaker.
No, it's a bond maker.
Yeah, so then what book... So Isla had never read the book.
Isla never read the book. She just took Celeste's word for it.
So she'd never seen the book with her own eyes.
No.
And then did Oro, when he says the bond breaker doesn't exist, he didn't say, you mean the bond maker? Because that exists, but the bond breaker doesn't exist.
Where's the X? It's supposed to be right here. 10,000 paces east.
Oh, east? I thought you said west.
No, even though Egan, his brother, was the one who told her about it. So Oro presumably would know about it too, because he learned about the heart of the island from Egan.
And he didn't say bond breaker. No, there's no such thing. But there is a thing called a bond maker.
No, because everyone in this story is stupid.
They're like NPCs!
Unless they see it in front of their eyes, or you ask the exact keyword, like a Google search, they don't know what you're talking about. So then Oro shows up, and they're both like slack-jawed and like
collapsing,
going into a comatose state. And the reason she has all 6 powers is because Oro and Grimm are both in love with Isla, and Isla secretly had wildling powers all along. And this is like the whole explaino bit where Celeste reveals her plan, and her plan was that she got Poppy and Terra, Isla's guardians, to kill her mother and her father for her.
Yeah.
And Isla's mother was a wildling, but her father was a nightshade. And her father was somehow able to stop the curse from affecting her mother. So they were able to have Isla without the mom killing the dad.
Well, you know how they could have done that, is he could have just erased her memories every single time.
But then she would never be in love with him.
Exactly.
That would be like a slavery relationship.
Exactly.
Or maybe he just projected an illusion of killing him, and that was enough to satisfy the curse.
No.
Anyway, it's stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, her dad was a nightshade, and he was somehow able to subdue the mom's curse. And because Isla is part nightshade and part wildling, she never was born of the curse, which is like, you just made the biggest plot hole for your world, because all that they have to do to solve the curse and the prophecy is to intermarry, which is just stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, why doesn't everyone just immediately intermarry and have kids? Like, nobody intermarries in this world. Because there are people on the Lightlark Island from all, like, 4 different realms,
yeah,
and none of them intermarry and notice, like, hey, our kids don't have curses.
And they're not having, like, any sort of population problem.
Like, it'd be one thing if they were isolated.
Yeah.
And the solution was like, oh, you need to intermarry to have kids, but they're all, like, extremely isolated and racist, you know?
Yeah.
Like in Naruto.
Yeah.
But they're not. So it's like, that doesn't make sense why nobody notices that the solution to the curses is to just marry someone else and have kids with them.
Yeah.
Someone not from your realm.
I bet Juniper knew that.
Yeah.
But he's dead now.
He's dead now.
Yeah.
So then it turns out that...
Juniper's another thing. Do you know where the bond breaker is? No, but there's a thing called the bond maker.
Exactly.
It's because the bond maker didn't exist until this part of the book.
Stupid. But anyway, so yeah, so it turns out that she actually has both Nightshade and Wildling powers and no curses, because she's half Wildling, half Nightshade. It turns out that Aurora basically groomed her from a young age to put this plan into place for the next centennial, to do this really convoluted scheme where she's gonna seduce the king, but she knew that she would seduce the king if she told her to seduce the king.
What?
Because she raised her from a young age with those guardians whose plan was to have her seduce the king.
But
she knew that she would seduce the king if she didn't seduce the king, and she only didn't seduce the king because she was told to seduce the king.
But what does that mean?
Exactly.
I didn't even get that they were, like, in love with each other. Or that he was in love with her.
It was too short for him to fall in love with her.
Especially because he's never been in love before, and he's, like, thousands of years old.
I know.
So at that point, it'd be like, what the heck, you know? Like, what are you talking about?
No, but here's the thing. Her whole plan going into the Centennial was to seduce the king.
Yeah.
And she's like, F that, I'm not seducing the king.
Yeah.
But by not seducing the king, she seduced the king.
But that's stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Again, it's like, you know, oh yeah, the self-fulfilling prophecy. But she didn't do anything, conceivably, to make him fall in love with her.
If you had told her not to seduce the king, would the result have been the same? Or was it only because they told her to seduce the king that the result was the way it was? But it's almost like Celeste raised her to not follow the rules because she expected her to use a star stick to find her.
But that doesn't make any sense either.
I know!
It's like, what are you talking about?
I know!
First of all, how do you go somewhere?
It's like double negatives
Yeah.
and like double speed.
No, but how do you get somewhere without knowing where you're going with the star stick? That's
How
the
does
first
you,
question.
no? How does your plan hinge on somebody being unpredictable?
Yeah.
I knew you'd be so unpredictable. It's like, yeah, then why did you base your plan on that? That's stupid.
No.
Only if it's a wildling does she get all of the powers in one go. But she had to have the king be seduced by the wildling and Grimm be seduced by the wildling. Because then you get the Nightshade power too. Somehow she was also behind her relationship with Grimm as well.
But okay, so where did you find the bond breaker again?
She found it in the hidden library that the king has been using for the last several decades. So
okay.
The king presumably knows about the bond maker.
Yeah, the bond maker.
I mean, how could he not know about the bond maker?
Okay, so
if Celeste found it in one day.
Yeah.
If it was a tiny little staple.
Yeah.
And the king was like, I've never heard of that before, and Celeste is like, this won't hurt at all. It's a tiny little staple.
Yeah.
Like something that's so thin and small that it almost looked invisible.
Like the size of an actual sewing needle, right?
No, even smaller, like the size of a fingernail, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, the king had never even looked for such a thing.
Yeah.
You know, but it was tiny,
yeah.
you know?
Okay, so why not take the star stick from Isla, break into the secret library with the star stick.
You can't go to a place you've never been to before.
Isla was doing it all the time. How did she even get started with the star stick?
It must have been like Celeste taking her to those places when she was a baby. Or something.
But Celeste has been to the island on previous centennials, so she's been to the island before.
Yeah, but she's never been to the library. And she didn't know it existed before.
How?
I don't know. Egan told her about this hundreds of years ago, so how come she didn't search the libraries herself in the past 4 centennials?
Exactly.
Because her plan was always to get the king to fall in love with her so she could get all of his powers.
Yeah, so you take the star stick.
Oh, no. She tried to seduce him herself to get all of the powers.
Yeah.
But then, this time, she got somebody else to seduce him to get all the powers, and then she had her seduce the Nightshade as well, and she's a wildling, so she got all 6 powers in one go. Because previously she wouldn't need to use the bond maker if she seduced the king herself. Because if she seduced him herself, then she would just be able to get his powers. I don't know how she even has illusion powers. How can she change her appearance? I thought that was something only Nightshades could do. Different face, a different person, and a possible power, a flare.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a flare! Okay, so she just has a flare that's the exact same as the Nightshade's power.
Yes.
I used my shape-shifting flare to change into a beautiful wildling, convinced this fool that he would have me that night if he gave me the most beautiful flower on the island, one that I knew had bloomed on the remnants of Night Isle just weeks prior, the heart of Lightlark, something Egan had told me about as children. I tracked it, intending for it to be a wedding gift, and said Grimm unknowingly unlocked the heart for me to use. The job was rushed. Since I had not found it myself, I could not wield it effectively. I cursed all the realms without really meaning to, even my own. Only I, as the curse's creator, was left unmarred. Then I panicked. With all the rulers except for me dead, I would be the prime suspect, so I faked my death with the Nightshade illusion, using the heart. The person who truly perished was my heir, my sister. I took on her identity, her face. Then I formed the Starling Newland. I forbade attendance in the castle, led from afar. Keeping secrets is easy in a realm where everyone dies at 25. I became a new Starling ruler every centennial. For the right moment to take everything I'd been denied, only this time I wish to rule all 6 realms. Gaining access to all of Lightlark's powers proved difficult, even with a new face, new personality. Every centennial, you always rejected my advances. An untrusting king indeed. Egan had told me about the bond maker. I began searching for it every centennial. But even if I was able to trick you, king, into using it with me, but why would she need to use it with the king if he would just... if falling in love with him would give her access to all of the powers anyway? Why does she need the bond maker unless she's using somebody else to seduce a king? A ruler can only use the bond maker to gain ability once and lose ability once. I needed a way to gain all 6 powers in one go. Okay, so... but if she falls in love with the king and the king loves her, then she gets access to all 4 of those powers.
Yeah.
But she doesn't get Nightshade or Wildling.
Yeah.
And here, she wanted to get Nightshade and Wildling, but then I remembered later on, you can only get access to the other person's power if they both love each other.
Yeah.
So, Isla only has Nightshade powers because she's half Nightshade.
Yeah.
And the only reason Aurora gets Nightshade powers is because Isla's half Nightshade.
And she, yeah,
so
takes her,
Grimm falling in love with her has nothing to do with anything.
No.
It was totally pointless.
It was.
Okay, so she says, yes, Isla, you are not only Wildling, but also Nightshade. Quite the contrary, little bird. You are very powerful. Your Wildling abilities have simply been cloaked by your Nightshade powers. Made invisible, unusable, unless a skilled Nightshade should untangle them.
What does that mean?
I guess because Nightshades can do curse crap. So they can undo the curse that one is cloaking the other, but it doesn't make sense.
That's not a curse.
That's not a curse, no.
No, that's like...
She just says manifestations of power are so strange, aren't they?
Everybody in this book is an idiot.
I know, the whole rules don't make any sense. They're overly convoluted. It's just like, it's literally just word vomit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just... I really just want, for once in my life, to read a book about a powerless main character who's actually powerless.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing with that other book I'm reading. It's the same thing with Boku no Hero Academia, where it's like, oh, the main character doesn't have powers. And then, like, halfway through the book, they discover that they have powers that are better than everyone else's.
Yeah.
It's the worst ever. Just make your character not have powers. That would be more interesting, because your character would presumably have to be more intelligent and cunning.
But that's harder to write.
Yeah, but it's more interesting. I want to read about an underdog, not about a friggin' special Sue.
Well, then how about you write your own book about that?
I will.
Yeah.
I'll write a Lightlark rewrite, and I'll call it Dark Fart.
No, Lightlark, you call it Dark Sparrow.
Dark Sparrow.
No, Dark Sparrow. Sounds pretty good.
Black Sparrow.
Yeah, Black Sparrow.
Black Raven.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when Grimm became my accomplice. I didn't know you'd been visiting other rulers too. You apparently mentioned something suspicious about me to Grimm, and the very next day he appeared in my room, and that was when he became my accomplice. A person's emotions have colors, apparently. Celeste had been the same shade as mine. He figured out my identity right away and was about to slay me, knowing that my survival meant I had spun the curses, but before he could, I told him that the only reason I kept returning to the Centennial with a new face was because I could not rest until Egan's familial line was destroyed for good. I presented him with a plan that would kill the king without dooming everyone on the island, break the curses, and give him control of Lightlark. All he had to do was help me.
So Grimm has been like a...
Grimm knew this whole time. Why does he trust her if she was the one who spun the curses?
No, but if he knew the whole time, then when Isla says, hey, we're gonna go use the bond breaker, wanna come with? And he goes, okay, sure, you do that.
Exactly.
Then he goes, no!
Exactly.
Grimm's an idiot!
Grimm has selective memory loss.
No, he's actually taken his own stash, whatever he does to tweak the memories.
Undoing his own memories.
Yeah, because he's a moron.
Dude, that would be interesting too. If you had a character who could undo memories and they did it themselves to like forget traumatic stuff.
Yeah, and then he's like, oopsie, too many black holes in my brain. Now I have prions.
She told me the original offense... Oh, this is Grimm's excuse.
Yeah.
She told me the original offense was a Sunling ruler falling in love with a Wildling ruler. Egan loving Violet, your ancestor. To break the curses and fulfill the prophecy, the original offense had to be repeated again. You had to make Oro fall in love with you, but we were already in love. You would have refused. So, I had to take the memories of us together away. This is so stupid. Grimm is so stupid. No wonder she falls out of love with him. She's like... I can't be in love with someone who's that stupid.
He's so dumb.
And then it was the most difficult decision I'd ever made, knowing that succeeding meant you beguiling someone else, making you forget our story, our love. But she never seduced Oro. She was told to seduce him, and she said, F that, and then he fell in love with her because she said, I don't want to seduce him.
But there was nothing that they did together that would result in falling in love.
Oro and... Isla? Yeah. The only thing I could think of is that Oro is so isolated and so cut off from everyone that the first woman who, like, shows an interest in him that's not, like, predatory or exploitative, he's like, you know, like, friggin' starving dog.
Yeah, but she's not, I mean, because it's like, if you had somebody who, like, I'm assuming that when Aurora tried to seduce, you know, Oro, she was being sweet and nice and everything.
She had a different, no, she had a different personality every time.
Yeah, different personality.
She probably tried sweet and nice, and he rejected her. And then she tried like dominatrix, and then he rejected her. And then she tried like scheming vixen, and then he rejected her.
But Isla, like, she acts like an NPC from a video game.
She acts like a main character.
Yeah, so it's like, what, you know, what did she do that was so charming? They were very antagonistic towards each other. What did she do? Is he a predator who likes antagonistic, unwilling women? You know, like, what's the implication here?
I have no idea. He just came off like somebody who doesn't really talk to people very much, and then when you talk to somebody and it wasn't an unpleasant experience, you just enjoyed that. That's what it felt like. But whatever, it ended up being part of Aurora's plan. She says, you gave me all 6 powers at once. Everything had been orchestrated. This is so dumb. Grimm had done everything for the same reason she had tried to win the Centennial. Save those he loved and bring power back to his realm. On every level she understood. The difference was Isla had been willing to give up everything for him when the entire time he had used her as a pawn. She spat in Grimm's direction. She regrets that she didn't trust Oro, and then she tries to kill Aurora. She kills Aurora with this dagger that has a snake hilt that she bought at the weapons shop, and then like she stabs her, but then the blade shatters. And then Aurora says, the dagger you chose at the Starling shop, it was the one that I planted there. One I had enchanted so it could never kill me should you discover my plot.
And then she says, so predictable, so weak, so foolish.
Dude, if Isla just brought her own weapons with her, if Celeste has been grooming her from the start, she could have been like, all of those weapons that I gave you to practice with, all of the ones that you trained with your entire life, they've all been enchanted to never work on me. Exactly. Then it wouldn't have to be the stupid crap where she plants weapons at the weapon shop for her to buy.
No.
That's stupid.
Obviously, this entire explanation just came out of nowhere.
Not only that, but a sword is so different from a dagger.
Yeah.
Like, how does she know how to use all these different weapons? It's just dumb.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason you have to choose a weapons class in, like, all these RPGs. You have to either have to be, like, a rogue or a warrior or whatever. Because, like, you only have X number of years to train with a weapon to become really good. It doesn't make sense to train with a bunch of different weapons when you can just specialize in one.
Since she uses the star stick to get away.
Yeah, she uses the star stick to get away before she dies, and then she goes to her room, and then she talks to Poppy and says, you guys were in on it, you killed my mom and dad, and then Poppy and Tara were like, Celeste convinced us that she would be able to break the curses.
She says she should leave Tara to rot. Yeah, she gets her swords.
She put on her armor and she grabbed her 2 swords, but why didn't she just... Dude, if she could just use the star stick to go home and grab her swords, why didn't she just do that before the duel? Why did she get the tailor to make armor for her when she already has a perfectly good armor set at home? The one that she's used to, the one that she's trained with.
Yeah, she could just go back home whenever she wanted, get her stuff, and then come back.
Exactly.
It's like during the demonstration, when they have to demonstrate their powers, she'd be like, oh, let me excuse myself and go to the bathroom really quick. And then she goes home and gets all her potions and everything and goes, okay, this is going to work out for the demonstration. And then she comes back.
instead of showing her salve during the stupid demonstration for like what her realm could bring to the table, she should have used the salve as a demonstration of her powers.
Yeah.
She should have jumped into a flame, let her entire body immolate, and then put the salve on, and then heal.
Exactly.
That would have been a demonstration of powers.
She could have, like, excused herself and then gone. Or she could have dropped something under the table, gone under the table, then come back really quick. And it would have been so tense with that star stick. You know? But no.
This is so dumb. And then she fights Aurora, and Oro and Grimm just watch slack-jawed like idiots.
Where's Azul? Where's Cleo?
She says Aurora can never leave the place of mirrors because if she does, then she'll be able to use all 6 abilities, not just Wildling. But it's like, what does that matter? Because Moonling doesn't really do anything except healing, but only near water. Skyling is just stupid wind. It's not like she can fly. Starling doesn't really do anything either. The only useful ones are Nightshade, Sunling, and Wildling. Those are the only useful powers in the story because those are all the main characters.
No, I would feel like if she did leave and she had those powers, all of a sudden a bunch of other stuff that was never explained as being an ability for Moonling and Skyling and Starling would suddenly be possible now, right? Like all of a sudden Starlings would be able to make fire tornadoes, and Skylings would be able to
fly,
emit supersonic screams, and Moonlings would be able to bring the moon down and crash it at people.
Meteor.
If they wanted to. And it's like, yeah, Moonlings could do that. And it's like, what are you talking about? No, they can't. You never established that earlier in the story. But they would be able to, you know, all of a sudden, right? Because that's how this book is written.
So then Aurora brags and says, you and Oro truly could have broken the curses if you'd been strong enough to let one of the rulers die. And of course, there's the matter of the original offense from the prophecy. So she's basically showing her butt here and saying, like, the original offense isn't using the heart of the island. It was something else. Curses so cruel could only be spun through a truly sinister act. But I don't know how curses are spun. This is the last 10 pages of the book, and they're telling me how curses are spun. Dude, you've never told me how curses are spun before.
No.
And now you're saying curses so cruel could only be spun through a truly sinister act.
And she said that nightshades could spin curses, but she didn't say that they had to do something sinister in order to spin them. She just kind of implied that it was
There's never been an exchange of power, like, it's never been like Full Metal Alchemist where in order to use power you have to take something away. That's never been established in this book before.
No.
So she says blood had to have been spilled to make something of a malice so great, and not just any blood. She learned at a young age about the 6 rulers' sacrifice in exchange for the prophecy that would break the curses. This is also dumped on us for the first time in the last 10 pages. Apparently, the 6 rulers sacrificed themselves in exchange for the prophecy. But the Oracle was just telling them crap earlier with no sacrifice required at all.
No, but that was revealed like way earlier in the book. I think when they talk about Horus Ray for the first time, they talk about the 6 original rulers sacrificing themselves.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
After the curses were spun, there was chaos. The same night, the 6 rulers of the realm sacrificed themselves in exchange for a prophecy that was promised to be a key to breaking the curses.
So I guess they had heirs already.
They all must have had heirs at that point.
Yeah.
Like, everything is literally like a contract where it's like clause A, part B, part C, part D.
Yeah.
It's so convoluted.
And it's only revealed in like, in layers, like a cake, as Alex
No, it's not
loves to
revealed
say.
in layers. It's revealed at like the most crucial moment where it's basically just butt pulls.
No, exactly. It's like you're eating a cake and then all of a sudden
you bite into a bunch of glass.
Yeah, it's like this layer of the cake has glass in it. You're like, oh my god, it's a minefield, right?
It is a minefield. The original offense was Aurora killing her best friend, who was her wildling ancestor. But it's like, has murder between families never been committed on Lightlark before the curses were created 500 years ago? There's never been 2 people vying for the same throne. One of them kills the other. That's really common. That was really common in royal families prior to the modern age, prior to democracy. The reason that monarchy could be so unstable was if a king had a lot of heirs and they were all fighting for the throne.
Yeah.
Then there would be a different monarch every couple of years because they would all be killing each other. That was very common.
Yeah, that even happens with wealthy families.
Yeah, it happens with wealthy families today.
Yeah, you see.
So there would be patricide and familicide happening all the time.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if they have this like only one ruler for the realm and multiple heirs. And if you die without an heir and your entire realm dies, there would be a huge incentive to have as many heirs as possible.
Yeah.
A huge incentive to have as many heirs as possible. This whole centennial thing, where it's like, oh, you're not allowed to have heirs, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
Because you could just die, like, tripping down the stairs. You know? And then you're you just doomed a million people.
Exactly.
Because you didn't have an heir.
Yeah, or you could get, like, some sort of disease, and if you aren't the type of person who can heal, then that's it.
Grimdark sleeping around with super AIDS. Yeah. You know, how come he doesn't have an heir? That's so irresponsible.
It's extremely irresponsible, you know? So,
so apparently Aurora was the first person to kill her best friend on Lightlark, and that was what caused the curses.
What about Juniper being killed? Does that curse anybody?
And I guess it's because she killed her best friend while she held the heart in her hand. I don't know. It's stupid. It's so dumb. I don't get it. I don't know if it was just killing her friend or it was because she had the heart and she killed her friend.
Wait a second. So, that was her ancestor. Those 6 rulers, that was not Celeste or Aurora. She was not part of those 6 rulers.
Dude, I just thought of something. If Grim and Oro and Cleo and Azul were all there 500 years ago when the curses were spun.
Yeah.
Because they're all prime suspects. Then who killed...
Yeah, who are these 6 people,
Who are these 6 people who killed themselves for the curse?
She said her own ancestor is the one who led the sacrifices. That's not the ancestor that fell in love with Egan. And that wasn't the ancestor...
That was the ancestor who fell in love with Egan. It was Violet.
And is that the ancestor that was killed by
Aurora? Yeah.
So she didn't sacrifice herself?
No, she said Isla wondered now if perhaps her ancestor hadn't sacrificed herself at all. Maybe she was dead before the other rulers had even learned about the curses.
So then how would sacrificing give the prophecy if she was killed?
I don't know.
So...
I don't know. Who killed themselves on behalf of the wildlings?
I don't know.
And the other thing is, if these guys must have all had heirs because their realms didn't immediately disappear.
Yeah.
And Oro must have been the heir because he's Egan's brother.
Yeah.
So, like, but for the last 500 years, Oro's never had kids?
That killing of Violet by Aurora is what caused the curse. So then how would her sacrificing for the prophecy happen if they sacrificed themselves from the prophecy to figure out how to defeat the curses?
Exactly.
So what's the timeline here? When did Aurora kill Violet?
She killed her that morning, and that night, when after the curses were created, they all sacrificed themselves to get the prophecy.
That's such a fast turnaround.
Yeah, like lucky that they all had heirs, right?
That's such a fast turnaround. What the heck?
And if Aurora is the Starling ruler, and that's why she was marrying Egan, then who sacrificed themselves on behalf of the Starling?
Alex. Why, Alex? Tell us, please. I don't understand what's going on.
They didn't even have to sacrifice themselves to get the prophecy is the crazy thing. You didn't have to have that in the story. You could have just had the Oracle give it to them. Because the Oracle tells Isla and Oro with no sacrifice required. She tells them what they need to know for nothing.
Yeah.
So why did they need to kill themselves to get anything from the Oracle? To get the prophecy? Doesn't make any sense.
Unless it was like a purposeful misdirection to kill the other rulers, but that doesn't make any sense why you'd want to do that.
No.
So...
Doesn't make any sense.
It's just... I don't know. Sounds like something from Naruto.
Her heart? She remembered that the arrow had... Wait, no. First, Grim panted and winced as if it hurt to breathe, but he managed to say, heart. He gasped, his words barely coming out. Your heart.
Tell me how! The heart, Osborne. First, we attack his heart.
Heart eater. She remembered the arrow that had gone through it, a shocking pain like a lightning bolt skewering her. She should have been dead. Even Wildling Elixir, even Cleo couldn't fix an arrow to the heart, an arrow to the knee. Only a heart could.
Only a heart could
Only
fix
a
the
heart can fix a heart. It's like Zelda. You need more hearts. Isla pressed a hand against her chest, and it burned, not from its injury, she now realized, but because of what it now held. Power in its purest form. When the heart had healed her, it had marked her.
Oh, really?
This is such a BS rule. It's just totally made up. When the heart healed her, it marked her. Okay, but what does that mean? What are the mechanics?
We didn't see any sort of tangible marking during that exchange, so what are you talking about?
Your heart. It does not belong only to you. She hadn't understood Grimm's words then, but she did now. And then she just does Asio Island Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then a call like a bird screeching in her ear, a chill like the frost that had numbed her tongue on Moon Isle. Isla felt it and called for it, her arm outstretched, her fingers flexed. Something like an arc of sunlight came crashing through the glass, the heart hurtled into her palm, and she glowed. Then she basically kills Aurora. And then she felt the power barrel through the needle as Celeste's eyes went wide and then dimmed. She kills Aurora. Before she landed on the ground, it collapsed. The curses broke, and so did Lightlark. The floor fissured, and Isla fell through the crack after Celeste's body, which had already been taken by the island. The Starling ruler fell hundreds of feet down to Lightlark's fiery core. Wildling power, but she hadn't been the one to wield it. Love on Lightlark is a dangerous thing. Someone she loved was using her abilities. The thick plant lifted her to the surface, out of the pit that had opened right in the middle of the place of mirrors. When she reached the top, Isla hauled herself over the edge onto solid stone, panting. Her hair was a wild mess in front of her. Through it, she saw Oro release his fist. Oro was wielding Isla's power, and she could see in Grimm's face that he knew what that meant. The look on his face, agony melting into surprise, and finally anger, said that he'd also tried to access her abilities and found that he could not. What a loser! Cucked Grimm. Yeah. And then she decides that she loves Oro the most.
Does the Starling realm get eradicated?
Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't, because of this stupid loophole.
That's what I was confused about when I got to that part. I kind of skimmed this part, to be honest.
It was so stupid. It was. This is the part that I read like the morning before we started filming, and I kept going, what? Because like every sentence or every other paragraph, there's a reveal that is like, what? This is such a butt pull. She kept towels over her mirrors just in case, knowing nightshades could use them to communicate. Butt pull. Never in the story before this. This is page 403 out of 414.
No. So everybody's
with their curse broken, nightshades would be stronger than they had been in 500 years. But all they could do, the only thing of their curse that kept them back was not being able to go out at night.
Yeah.
Like, what's the power now? 24/7 coffee shops? Like, what's going on here? Why are they so much more powerful when all they couldn't do was go out at night?
Well, she says that they draw their power from darkness.
Doesn't matter.
He's
able to do all of his tricks. It's not like he says, yeah, I used to be even more powerful than this, but this is all I can do in the daylight. And it's like, crap.
Exactly.
You know, there's nothing. He said, I could open a black hole that would swallow the beach in broad daylight.
Exactly.
It doesn't dampen his powers at all.
So it's like, what are you talking about?
I could turn the sea dark as ink and kill everything inside of it. I could demolish the castle brick by brick from where we stand. That was with his curse. Mm-hmm. So how powerful is he? Is he God? Like, what is this? Oh, when Isla had used the bond maker, she'd returned each ruler's power through the same bridge that had allowed her to take their abilities in the first place, though she still had access. There was no armor between her and Oro's endless pool. Since it went both ways, she could dip her hand in and take it all if she wanted to. And then, not just getting her own power and Oro and Grimm's back, but also taking something from her, all her Starling ruler abilities, a loophole to kill a ruler and their line, fulfill the prophecy, and end the curses while sparing the Starling realm.
Wait, how? Say that again.
She wondered how he felt, for when Isla had killed Aurora with the bond maker, she had known exactly what she was doing. Not just getting her own power and Oro's and Grimm's back, but also taking something from her. All her Starling ruler abilities. A loophole to kill a ruler and their line, fulfill the prophecy and end the curses while sparing the Starling realm. I read that and I was like, what? There's no consequences for the main character killing the Starling ruler.
Because she took all the ruler's powers from her before she killed her, basically, is what they're saying.
But if the ruling's powers are just the realm abilities, then how come the king isn't the one? Like, the loophole should be that the king is still a ruler. He's a ruler, and he has Starling abilities, so the Starling line didn't fall. As long as you didn't kill a Wildling or a Nightshade ruler, their realms would all remain intact, because the king controls all of their powers. Why is it Isla who's able to absorb the Starling ruler powers, and that's why the Starling realm still exists? Exactly, it's stupid, right?
Because this book is so dumb!
And this is, again, 406 of 414, she's still adding stuff, she's still, like, making crap up.
A loophole, if you will. A loophole, more like a poop hole, Alex.
Yeah! Then Isla climbs up to the railing like an idiot again, and then that's the end, and then there's one last chapter where she finally realizes that the key to the door is her crown.
Yeah.
And then she puts her crown to the hole, and then pulls it open. And that's it.
Oh my gosh, it's so exhausting to talk about the Lightlark. Oh, jeez.
Like, what can you say other than it's stupid? And analyze the crap out of it until your brain hurts.
Oh man, my brain definitely hurts. It's really like one of those things where she just keeps making it up as she goes along, and
I would say at least 60% of the book, in terms of what happens in it, 60% is pointless.
Yeah, 60%.
Like, all of the stuff with the demonstrations, all of the stuff with, like, oh, maybe someone will assassinate me, the stupid ballroom thing, the stupid Grimm chocolate stupid scene, the stupid looking for the bond breaker, the stupid heart of the island, looking through all the purse plants crap, the fairy dudes, the cannibal ghoul effers, and then the stupid mermaids, and then Cleo's stupid frozen maze. Pointless. Yeah, no. Pointless.
The stupid... I can list more. I can list more that were pointless.
The tree with feathers?
Is pointless. The entire...
the Oracle!
Yeah, the Oracle.
Why would you include the Oracle if she tells you nothing?
No, the skin gloves were pointless.
Poisoning Celeste was pointless.
Poisoning Celeste. Blowing holes through the mountain was pointless.
It doesn't even add anything to Azul's character.
Dyeing your hair was pointless. Getting new clothes was pointless.
The festival scene.
The festival scene was pointless. Juniper was completely
Juniper
pointless.
was so pointless. You could have cut him out of the story and it wouldn't have even mattered.
I know who spun the curses.
Exactly.
Shut up, Juniper. Shut up. Nobody cares.
He's so worthless. And they keep building him up as like the Shadow Master.
Yeah, he's like stooped over on the table, like wiping it down.
It's like, it's not like you drew a huge target on your back, effing Juniper, like hanging out in broad daylight and like stealing everyone's secrets.
No, the star stick is pointless.
Because she never uses it.
No, the fact that Poppy and Tara trained her for so long and so hard is pointless.
No, the fact that she's half Nightshade, half Wildling, and doesn't have the curse. Dude, you just wrote the biggest plot hole in your own story.
The fact that Wildlings kill people they fall in love with and have to eat human hearts, pointless.
Yeah, because it doesn't even apply to her mom or her.
The fact that
Starlings... It doesn't affect the story at all.
The fact that Starlings die at 25, pointless.
You could have just made Wildlings, like, really good at empaths.
Yeah.
And they're famous for seducing people, and that would be reason enough for people to be wary of her.
I mean...
They'd be like, she's really manipulative, and she doesn't have to eat hearts. That was stupid.
Azul finding out that Celeste's Aurora is pointless, just to get him written out of the story.
And I don't even think he comes back.
He goes to the edge of the beach to look at his husband's soul in the storm.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And it's very emo. And it's like,
yeah,
oh,
but
great.
How come he never told them Celeste is Aurora? You
Because
know?
then he would have to explain how he found that out, and Alex just couldn't put it together. See, if
Isla talked to Cleo or talked to Azul at any point in the story, the whole thing would have fallen apart.
Exactly. No, if you actually had it be the thing where it's like, Starlings can't live past 25, right? And Celeste looks the same, or she has the same amulet, and you go to like a library, the Starling library, and you see portraits of previous Starling rulers, and they all look identical to her. And that's how Azul figured it out. That would be easy. Easy to
But
set
then
up.
it would be also a question of how come she didn't try to disguise herself.
Yeah, because it's a stupid plot. That's why. It's a stupid plot.
That's what the Darkling did in Shadow and Bone.
Yeah.
But in Shadow and Bone, it's like set in the early 1800s before photography.
Right.
And he lives so long and then just disappears for like a decade and comes back.
Yeah.
Because he fakes his death. And then, it's like Attack on Titan where the Titan power, or the founding, or not the founding, if you die without passing on the Titan power, it'll just be born in a random person.
Right.
Yeah, the Darkling power will just be born in a random person, and then he just comes back as himself, like 10, 20, 30 years later, and everyone's forgotten about him.
And everybody thinks he's the random person.
Everyone thinks he's the random person who's grown up, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's like clear that she didn't think of anything like that, and then she just kept saying, oh, but don't worry guys, because it's a loophole. Oh, it sure is a good thing that this happened. And Isla knew exactly what she was doing. And it's like, no, she didn't. You don't even know what you're doing, Alex.
Why does everyone live such a long time, and then Isla's the only person with a mortal lifespan? But she's not even, though, because it ends up being that she has 2 powers already.
Pointless. The fact that people from different isles have to wear different clothes and colors. Pointless.
It's just a shortcut to world building. It's lazy world building shortcut.
No, the fact that they were all cursed to begin with. Pointless.
The curses don't add anything to the story.
No. The fact that these guys are all rulers. Pointless. The fact that there's a storm that comes every 100... That covers the island for 100 years at a time. Pointless. The fact that they have a centennial. Pointless. Like, it's so stupid. Honest to God, the fact that this was the 5th centennial, pointless. It could have
been the first.
It could have been the 1st centennial. The fact that the 6 rulers sacrificed themselves for the prophecy, pointless.
It should have been the 1st centennial, and it should have been an island that only showed up, like, this is the first time the island's ever showed up, so it's a very mysterious island, dotted with ancient ruins.
Yeah.
And it can be an island that was, like Atlantis equivalent, where it used to be, like, maybe they're all isolated, because it's been hundreds of years since the curse. Everyone lives a normal lifespan. Why is everyone immortal? That's stupid.
Pointless.
So if everyone's mortal and it's been a couple hundred years and this is like, pre-computers, then information is very difficult to store and it's often lost, and then stories and politics morph history, right? So nobody has a true history, and everyone's legends are similar but different because they cast their own country in the most favorable light.
Yeah, the victor.
So it would be really interesting if they were once a united country on Lightlark, and then they find this island that has all these curious ruins. Like, look, this ruin has the star symbol and the sun symbol together. Yeah. That's so weird because they're mortal enemies, And the whole twist is that they once used to be one large country that split into 6 different factions following the curses, and now they're all Dark Forest.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. They all have a shared history. They all have a shared, these shared ruins. That would have been really interesting, but no, and it would have been creepy too if you find all these ruins everywhere.
Yeah, it would have been very creepy.
I'm thinking of like Uncharted mixed with like
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring? Yeah, it's like Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Mixed with Uncharted. That would have been really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
But no, instead you get this bull crap.
You could have actual ancient ones, like the ghost was the most interesting thing in the story because the ghost is presumably
I thought the oracles were really interesting.
Yeah, the oracles and the ghosts.
They were so misused.
Yeah, could you imagine if you went to a big ruin underground and you see this giant ghost skeleton and you're like, what the heck is that? And they're like, I'm an ancient being from the time when all 6 realms used to be united. And you're like, what? Mm-hmm. No way. And it's like, well, no, it's true. And then the ghost tells you, like, gives you a ghost vision of the history. And then all the ruin becomes like it was hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, like in Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Or they'd stumble upon the skeleton of, like, the old king, the last king of Lightlark. And he's wearing, like, a relic that transports you. Like, it's like a key or something, and it fits into a door.
Xanarkin? Correct. Xanarkin. As it looked 1,000 years ago.
And it looks like a door, but when you turn the thing, it doesn't turn into an actual door. It just causes like the vision to start. Like,
either that, or it's like a crown with 6 stones that are from all the different
colors.
Yeah, all the different realms. You put the crown on and you're teleported.
Yeah,
right? Like that. That would have been cool. Easy.
Yeah, like the diary from Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah.
Where it's like all of a sudden you see what the king saw, you see the true history of Lightlark.
Yeah, you're in the king's body and he's wearing the crown. You look in the mirror and you're wearing the crown and you're the king in his
on
body.
the day that the curses were spun.
Yeah, that would have been so much more interesting. And have an actual mechanic behind how curses work, right?
There is no mechanic.
There's no mechanic.
We just made up.
Spin curses. Like what? Like somebody spins a frickin' dreidel?
Not a menorah. You spin a dreidel.
Yeah, but it's entertaining when you read it, because every page you're like, what?
Yeah, like,
what?
No, they didn't. What are you talking about? And then, like, I just love the bit where Azul lets all those people die.
Yeah.
I think that's really funny, because, like, he goes to the beach to see his husband, and then all those guys are, like, looking at him in the storm.
What about all the other souls that are like, hey?
Yeah, remember me? I got crushed by rocks in the ball.
A couple of days ago.
Yeah, you didn't do anything, Azul. You just let me die. And they're just, like, looking at him like this, and he's like, hey. And they're like, I knew I should have voted for the other guy. I mean,
yeah,
500 years is a really long time.
Azul lives in a democracy.
Yeah, and they're like, And all the Skylings are like, you know what? I'd rather friggin' kill myself than live under this guy's rule for another 100 years. Which is why they volunteered. Yeah, let's all vote to kill ourselves, because this guy sucks. I'm sick of the chocolate. I'm sick of the mountain music. I'm sick of it, alright? Let's just kill ourselves, because this sucks. 100 years go by, all we've done is make paper planes. This is torture.
It's so funny that they were the ones who volunteered to end their lives, but the only curse that they had is that they can't fly. Like,
oh my god!
What a bunch of complainers!
Yeah,
we can't live this existence anymore. Not being able to fly is just too much.
And the crazy thing is, they all vote to kill themselves, but then she talks about how they're celebrating all the time.
Yeah, they're jovial people.
So what is
hiding
that?
Deep wells of sadness for not being able to fly.
They all want to kill themselves, but then they celebrate all the time.
Why don't they just jump off the cliffside and fly home?
The final flight.
Yeah, exactly.
The swan song.
The swan song. Fly into the storm.
Oh my god.
It's so dumb.
God. And then they're like, Azul, I'm flying. Before they careen down into the rocks. And he's like, we're going home. Splat. You know, I mean,
they all hold hands and jump off the cliff together.
I mean, who writes that? Who writes happy, jovial people who's celebrating all the time, but then they all vote to die? Who writes that? So those guys who were crushed by the rocks, they were cool with it. Azul's like, no, they
wanted to die.
They voted
I
to
did
die.
them a favor.
They voted to die.
Gosh.
It's fine. It's
so bad.
So stupid, bro. So, I mean, yeah. Lightlark sucks.
It's entertaining. It has potential. I mean, we wrote a better story.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like
not
20 minutes.
In terms of the prose, it's not the worst written thing. It's like
no, the prose isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's like staccato and it's really disjointed at times, which can be confusing. Like sometimes you'll read a sentence and then it just breaks off and then the sentence continues and you're like, oh. But yeah, the prose isn't terrible. It's just that she keeps describing the sun as a Yoki thing, but that ends up being foreshadowing setup, so you can't criticize that. Yeah, the prose isn't terrible. I liked Oro. I hated Grimm.
Yeah.
Isla was just like a Sue.
Yeah.
And then no other character has a personality. And the story itself was just like, every time you turn the page, there's another rule, there's another like thing introduced, there's another mechanic, there's another object, a sacred quest, there's another scene of them going through 50 billion plants to find the heart.
Yeah. And, I mean, the one thing about Isla that we both agreed was refreshing was the fact that she was like a attractive, confident character who was not like self-doubting herself. If anything, she was overconfident.
Yeah, I noticed that there's a huge trend in YA for the main character to be like bullied and not attractive, like plain.
Yeah.
And like constantly whinging internally, like with an internal monologue about how ugly she is.
Yeah.
And like, how could he like me when I'm so ugly? I'm so plain. And there's always like another female character who's blonde and blue-eyed and skinny, who's like the main character's like #1 rival and bully. And the pretty girl is like mean. I hate that. And I liked that Isla, like Cleo was the mean girl, but it wasn't because she was prettier than Isla. It was just because Isla didn't trust her.
Yeah.
And she was just like the red herring villain.
Yeah.
But Isla herself was never comparing herself, like her appearance to Cleo's unfavorably. Like, oh, Cleo was so beautiful and statuesque, and I was so short and dark and ugly, you know?
Yeah.
Isla was very confident in herself and her looks. And in fact, like, when these guys are, like, falling all over her, she's like, yeah, I mean, I took off my clothes and I knew he would look at me, you know?
Yeah.
Which is refreshing, because she's not, like, a wimp or a limp piece of lettuce, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Always, like, whinging and whining about how lame she is.
She's spunky.
She's spunky and confident, and
Yeah.
she's, like, unrealistically good with a sword.
Yeah.
But, I mean, most of these characters in most books that I've read, even the, like, critically acclaimed ones, they're all OP.
Yeah.
And they all have unrealistically, like, proactive solutions. Like, they just magically know how to solve the problems.
Right.
And it's, like, heavily implied that they're, like, the chosen one, which is annoying.
Yeah.
There's never, like, in a lot of books that I've read lately, the main character is never, like, flawed in a realistic or interesting or compelling way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the one good thing about Isla is that, yeah, she doesn't have flaws and she's a Sue, but at least she's not a whiny, faux modest Sue.
Yeah, yeah, she's like relatively, she really is like a character in a role-playing game where you do the character creation and you make the best looking character possible, and you do a lot of level grinding, so she's super OP compared to everybody else. And it's like, you know, you'll play a game where it's like, like in Oblivion, this guy is supposed to teach you hand-to-hand.
Training, eh? The real question is, can you fight? Show me what you've got.
But then your character just punches him and he dies.
Yeah.
Right? That's like the kind of character that Isla is.
Yeah, she beats the 1,000-year-old king and the
Yeah.
1,000-year-old general, formidable general who's
Yeah.
killed thousands of people on the battlefield to the point that his cloak was stiff with blood.
Yeah.
She killed them easily.
Yeah.
With no sacrifice or difficulty on her part.
And she's the most beautiful woman on the island, so she's basically like a level maxed, like, super OP character from a video game. That's just the way I think about her. And she's always making the choice that the player would make if they were playing a video game. You know? It's like, the fight with Aurora at the end is like the final boss fight, where it's like, okay, now use your star stick, go back to the weapons room, and go into your inventory and get all your armor and inventory and everything like that.
Yeah, and
then
she goes to the
back.
weapons store.
Yeah, and then lots of outfit changes. Like, it really seems like Alex Astor just really likes video games. And she's like, let me make this book that's basically a video game.
I don't even know if she does play video games, but there were a lot of points where I was like, this feels like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
This feels like Disney. This feels like Mario, you know, Super Mario Brothers.
No, the fact that all the NPCs wear clothes and have hair colors
that are all the same.
Yeah, that are all the same is like something you'd see in a video game.
Or the fact that you just have a random encounter with creatures
Yeah.
that don't ever come back again, have nothing to do with the plot.
Yeah.
Very video game.
A more interesting reveal at the end would be if she found out that she was in a video game. And she'd be like,
it's an isekai plot.
Yeah, and it's like the curses, nobody knows who spun them, and then she tries to find out who spun the curses, but then like parts of the castle are unrendered space.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the heck is going on here? She finds the back rooms and the liminal spaces. That would have been a more interesting
That would have been a Serenity twist.
Yeah.
And that might potentially could have been even worse, but more entertaining.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Anything else?
No. I'm looking forward to book 2. I don't know.
I don't even know if she's gonna get one. The results, like the reaction to this one is so mixed.
Yeah.
And like overwhelmingly negative that I don't even know if she's gonna get another one.
Well, I've got plenty of fan fiction material then.
Oh yeah, I would definitely rewrite Lightlark in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like that story that we just came up with on the fly.
Yeah.
Sounds like it could be a really interesting story.
Lots of potential.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yep. Okay. Done. Yay.
Yeah.
Done.